Hello everyone. Typical podcast audio problem disclaimer with this episode. I'm afraid we lost Hugh's audio and we had to edit this week's release with our Skype recording. It was not the best quality and it was harder to edit, so I'm sorry, but we're going to have a rougher edit this week. We were also cut off point sort of late in the first episode we were talking about due to technical issues and had to restart without finishing off a particular scene. I'll cut in when that happens and fill you all in. And now to our regularly scheduled episode.
Okay, so just go.
Yeah.
Welcome to the LHC. This is episode 7 in our rewatch of RahXephon, and in this we will be watching the episodes 13 and 14.
Yep.
Which are
the densest
possibly,
episodes
I know.
have had in a long time.
Oh my god, I had a lot of notes here. The thing is, as we've mentioned before, we sort of alternate who's doing the main notes and who's doing the sub notes. And this time it was my turn to do the main notes, and oh my god, this was so long.
Yeah.
Just so many plots and discussions and hints and clues about this, that, and the other. It was, I've written, I think, more in these 2 episodes than I have in the previous 4.
Yeah, the previous 4 were kind of mild, and this one's gone all serious on us. It's really dense.
Yeah, exactly. But it is actually quite nice to have this change up from the previous episodes, which were either random sort of bullshit they weren't really explaining, or just absolute trippy nightmare stuff.
Exactly.
And with that, I suppose, we just get on to episode 13, which for me was called Sleeping Beauty.
Yep, and for me, it is called Human Specimen Number 1.
Human Specimen 1, indeed. So, this episode opens with Haruka in the Mew Museum.
Yeah, it's like the Mew Museum. It's like the
That's a
epicot
hard-
of Moo.
It's a hard thing to say, by the way. I just tried repeatedly saying Mew Museum.
Mew Mew.
Museum. Yeah, you just sound like you're saying Mew Mew.
But you got, in the Mew Museum, you got Haruka being the most obvious spy in the history of spies.
Oh, I know. She's sitting on, like, the transport thing showing everyone the pictures of random blown-up places the Moulians attacked.
Sendai, mostly.
Yeah, well, she's just staring ahead while wearing sunglasses inside.
Yeah.
When everyone else is like children, families are going, ooh, no, look at that. And there's Haruka just sitting right in the center there like, don't look at me. I'm not at all incredibly obvious. It harkened back to me to the episode 1 stuff of those dudes in shades wandering around where they don't need to be wearing shades in an incredibly obvious, we're not agents of some sort way.
Yeah.
This is Haruka's attempt at secret agenting, and it's just sort of odd. Yeah, she ends up just trying to look like a badass. And actually, I think her outfit's pretty good, to be fair.
It's a sort of pink suit, isn't it?
Well, it's her normal outfit, but with a tie, for the most part.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's not much beyond those 2 things. Yeah, you end up saying that she's just listening to the actual overview, which is telling us that everything was destroyed by the Mu. Oh, wasn't it terrible? Look at all these cities. And then they made Tokyo Jupiter.
Well,
so,
she's not really listening to that, though, is she? That's what everyone else is listening to.
I'm also not really sure why she's there, because she goes round this museum, and then she goes, oh, look, there's a plane over there with a guy that I recognize who vaguely nods at me. I'm going to walk over to that plane, and then she fishes out some documents from a plane. There's a plane in the middle of this area, and she goes and gets the documents out of it. So
Super
she
obvious
doesn't...
spy drop stuff.
Yeah, exactly, but she doesn't pick up anything from the Mew Museum. So she just goes there. And then
I assumed she was picking up the audio recording that was talking about Quan. And that's what she's listening to in her earpiece.
Potentially, yes, because the whole time she's listening to a audio recording which is narrated over this scene, which is basically the Quan does not exist audio recording. This pretty much just starts off with, well, we've looked into that, and there are no records of Quan ever having gone to school before anything was destroyed, because they said, oh yeah, she went to school in that bit that got blown up. There's no records of that. There's no medical records. There's pretty much no records of her at all. And as such, the ones that exist now, we've concluded, must be fabricated.
You would have thought Quan would have mysterious fabricated...
past.
Well, not mysterious past, but mysterious fabricated past.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So we then cut back to Kwon with her mysterious fabricated past, who apparently just says, "I'm human," and that's it.
Yeah, there's just random cutaway to Kwon for no reason, yeah.
There's often random cutaways to Kwon for no reason. I mean, I've got them down here, but it's just a case of flick to Kwon in hospital. Kwon says, "I'm human," change scene.
Yep.
That's it.
That's what happens.
Yeah, very much.
It's a nice looking hospital. I think the art is a bit of a step up from the usual for these 2 episodes again. We're almost back
definitely.
as nice looking as it was in episode 1 and 2.
Yeah, especially later on in this episode when it's the nighttime scenes. I thought they were very well done, and the drawing has certainly...
But what I mean by that is that Kwon in the hospital at least looks even nicer than the regular hospital. You've got this weird bleached out white effect in the light.
Yeah.
They've sort of saturated everything up. And she's in a more furnished hospital, because she's in something like a mini MRI machine or something.
We never really get what the tests they're doing to Kwon are. They're just... We're doing generic medic tests. We're just medical.
RahXephon is not a show about science. RahXephon is a show about art.
Yes,
sort
and
of
how
like,
art can be replacing science.
Do science. Okay, we're doing science. This tells us fuck all.
I'm going to pick up my paintbrush and do science. Really? Because I'm going to do science with my violin.
Might as well.
Together, our science off will succeed in creating magic golems. Right. Anyway, yeah, we then have the dinner time for the Stowe family, I suppose.
Yep.
I was going to say the Blank family, but since 4 of people are there and then 3 different last names. So, yeah, well, it's Ritsuko, who is the uncle, Haruka, Megumi, and Ayata are all having dinner. And,
Megumi sort of goes, "So I heard you went spying, elder sister."
Yes, you went to that place you don't normally go to. I did. It was very pleasant over there.
But actually, she went to Nara, which does make sense. That was where she went to...
They used to live there.
Yeah, they used to live there when she was going to college, which is the ancient capital of Japan. One interesting thing is, of course, just be sure for people, they don't say, Megu doesn't say, "Oh, you were going on your spy trip." But she does say, "Oh, it's been a while since you went to Nara." Yes, it was fun. And Megumi is like the least subtle about how slightly awkward.
Yeah, and also nobody really is like, "Why did you go? What possible reason did you have to go?" She probably just said work. It's, as someone, I suppose, who works in the intelligence division or has done until this point, you kind of think
the whole thing, yeah.
You kind of assume that they just gave up asking Haruka, "How was your day?" Because comes back from her first day at work. "How was your day?" "Classified." "What is your job title?" "Classified."
Are you comparing Haruka with Mikuru from Haruka?
Oh yes, Kin Shukutoko desu.
Yes, it is classified information.
Yeah, but no, you just assume they'd stop asking after a while. What we have here is we have also just a quick reminder that Ayato is a 17-year-old boy, because when he looks at Haruka, the camera goes to his perspective and it doesn't look at her face.
No, again, it looks.
We have yet another incident
Boobs first.
Just this woman is completely represented by her tits. Shit, she's got a face. Better pay attention. And Ayato then blushes completely.
He blushes. Totally, I'm totally blushing about natto beans. Yes. Ooh, put sugar in your natto beans. I'd better put it in to cover for my...
I know. Cover for my staring.
Cover my staring.
It's like, why are you staring at my sister's chest? I'm not. I'm staring at her food, because look, she's doing weird things to her food.
Yeah, she's
look at
putting
it.
Sugar in
food.
her natto. Totally. He does try it and he says, "Ooh, it's good." And Haruka's like, scored a point there.
Yeah, see, Megu? He wants to be with me, not you. Clearly, I'm the better sister, because I put weird shit in my natto that he likes. And all relationships are entirely founded on your fermented soybeans.
Yep. All relationships are founded on your fermented soybeans. Sounds like such a weird innuendo.
I like the idea of saying that to people. I think it could be a great speech at the wedding. I know this couple will be together because, after all relationships are founded on fermented soybeans, and theirs is solid because of that. And just watch the entire blank faces in the church. Just, what the fuck is he talking about? Anyway, this actually is a thing that comes up relatively often. It's not just this episode. There's been loads of times before where they're like, "How can you think he's normal? He puts broad beans in his soup."
Yes, I remember that. Yes, that was from episode 3.
But you also had a few other things where it's just either Megami accusing Ayato of eating things weird, him accusing her of eating things weird, them both accusing Haruka of eating things weird. It's like, that's all they talk about. If you boiled their relationship down and made them all eat just broth that you cannot condom in any way,
There'd be so much less conflict in this.
there'd be no conflict, and they'd all just be silent all the damn time. Now, from here we have Ayato siding with Haruka, and Haruka thinking, this is a win. I will totally get him now. Fuck. And we can cut then back to Kwon being in hospital still.
Yeah.
But luckily, this time we don't have her talking bullshit or doing anything. We just have Itsuki and Makoto talking about her.
Yep.
So this is, again, a thing where Makoto asks, is she complete? Is she ready? Can we use her? And Itsuki pretty much calls him out and talking about her as an object, which Makoto does treat her like that the entire way through the series.
Well, yeah, because as far as he's concerned, she is.
Yeah, exactly. She's just a thing and not a person. Whereas Itsuki's saying, she's a person, they have a bit of a fight and a bit of a pissing contest, really, about whether or not they should, tell people that she's complete. Because, of course, she's not, according to Itsuki, but Makoto believes otherwise. They also talk about how she, in inverted commas there, will be here tomorrow.
She. I wonder who she could be.
The mysterious she. This thing here, though, is they then move on to talking about Ayato and how he's going to be complete and is moving on to the next level. And Makoto says, are you relying on him now? And it's like, well, let's just say I have high expectations of him. Now, this to me seems to imply that being complete and that being, the Olin, the instrumentalist, and the person that do all the stuff seems to be, in Itsuki's eyes, a bad thing. I mean, he wants, if you were going to say, who do you want to have, unlimited powers and to remake the world, which, for all intents and purposes, is what we've been told these two are being trained to do, your sister doing that might not be a bad thing, particularly your sister who really does seem to like you. It's not like Kwon hates him or acts in a negative way towards him. But he doesn't seem to want this for her. He doesn't want her to be complete. He wants Ayato to do it instead.
In fact, in the Japanese one, he straight up says, he will evolve even further than what we've seen already. Is how he phrases it. So he's sort of like, yeah, I'm expecting him to totally overtake Kwon and be more useful. But if I would say, the reason is because he doesn't want Kwon to be used by the Foundation. Because it does seem that, as far as Itsuki is concerned, the person who becomes the instrumentalist becomes also the tool of the Foundation. Yeah,
that's true. But it's even so, I think he's much more against it than you would expect, I think, here. Particularly if someone's complete, you wouldn't have thought it'd be that long before they're usable. I mean, the word complete kind of has a lot of implied meaning there, really, doesn't it? You wouldn't say, is that picture complete? Yes, it is. Give me another year or two to work on it.
I think this really... what I took away much more from this scene was just their worry for the approachment of that person.
Yeah, I suppose. The next scene is Haruka on a trip, reading... reading some spies.
It's everyone on the ferry heading towards Terra.
Yes, that's
Haruka's reading
all her spy
documents in a really obvious way. Again,
I mean, they're on a ferry together.
Animated really badly is looking at Haruka, and it's only until they cut in. This happens a lot. I've seen certain animation where when things are far away, I mean, you can't spend all the effort to draw this beautiful big drawing and then shrink it down. So you do a simplified drawing for the distance ones. But this one really makes Ayato look really weird. Pause it when you're watching this. People listening, pause this scene, and you'll just see he looks like a bobblehead.
Yeah, it is pretty much just a flesh-coloured ball with a couple of eyes. But no, the thing is, right, this is also more of Haruka's amazing intelligence. She's been an intelligent agent for 10 years, and is meant to be an amazing spy. And yet, they must go to work together, because Haruka must drive them down. Either that, or makes them walk and drives a lot later. That doesn't seem right. So probably Haruka drives them from their place to the ferry, gets on the ferry with the car, travels across. And normally, they're sort of talking about this. But at this point, they get out and wander and chat around, and Haruka stays in the car and reads important documents.
Yeah.
It's incredibly suspicious looking.
Meh.
But yeah, this is another time when Megami accidentally reveals plot to people, which is pretty much her only role, is have exposition conversations about Haruka's past these days.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that's not our real first name. We were known by a different first name some years ago.
Yeah, several years ago.
I wonder how many years ago.
Just in case you weren't sure, it's been several years, but we did change our names, and this all sort of starts from Ayato asking, why doesn't she have she's got no boyfriend, he says, planning to move in, and then quickly sort of backs up, well, because she's really capable and she's pretty, and, you would have thought she'd have a boyfriend. Do you think she'd date me? But Megami comes up with that she did have a boyfriend when I was young, and I think he really liked me as well. And I did a bit of maths here as well, because she said she was about 4, and that would mean that Haruka was 17 at the time. So this would be sort of high school, second year, wouldn't it?
Yep, it would indeed be.
And as such, it could not be Hayato, which...
Who could... Oh, I wonder, who could it be?
Well, no, the thing is, when she started talking about this, I seem to remember that I used to think immediately I thought it was Hayato, but then, obviously, as soon as the times turned up, no, it's not Hayato, can't be Hayato, just because of chronology. This is also just the thing about their name changing is to set up clues for later as well. It also kind of explains why they don't live with their mother and the new father. Megami says he's not my dad. He's just someone who married my mother and hates him. Like really, really seems to hate him.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Oh, Holly pointed out in this scene that Megami is wearing a Gryffindor scarf as well.
Yes, she is wearing a scarf very similar to the scarves worn by Gryffindor. Harry Potter is very popular in Japan, so it wouldn't have surprised me, because 2001, Harry Potter's still coming out.
Yeah, it is. It's got a few out by that point.
And of course, it's much, much further in the future for this period of time in RahXephon, so they must have all come out quite a lot. So she knows everything. She already knows. I mean, 2001, I think the final one hadn't come out yet.
No, I don't think it would have done.
Yeah, but in this future version of RahXephon, that means she totally knows.
In 2015 is what it is. So, yeah, exactly. Ooh.
It's 2015 in Tokyo Jupiter, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it's like 2027?
Yeah, or something like that.
I can't remember. All these dates, I keep...
all this research you have to do for this podcast.
No. I don't object to doing the research. What I object to is trying to remember all of it. Because it's been...
You don't have to. I've got it written down in front of me.
Oh, right, okay. Well, I haven't written it down. I'll look it up as relevant. Yeah, no, it looks like Harry Potter was 1997, the first one. So, yeah, they would definitely have had this in the real world. So it genuinely might be a Gryffindor scarf.
It surprised me, yeah. The character designer's a big fan of Harry Potter. Sits in a Gryffindor scarf. Nice catch to Holly there.
Yes. Well, I think it's because I had it paused while I made ridiculous notes. I feel bad for Holly watching this with me because I kept having to pause it to write down the ridiculous amount of dialogue and plot bullshit that there was coming out through this one. Yeah, they then end up getting to work, and there's a dolem.
Yes, you do. A dolem hangs in front of the moon.
It's just there in front of the moon. Now, I wondered, right, it's shown just in front of the moon. Does that mean that we then just cut to the night immediately?
Yeah, they do just cut to... Well, no, this cuts to high altitude, so... They straight up state later on, as if to screw with the timeline of this even more, that it is in high altitude. This dolem is called arpeggio, and an arpeggio is a kind of broken chord, which is appropriate name for this one, because this is perhaps the most useless dolem in the entire series, and we've already met some useless dolems.
I would actually defend this dolem somewhat, because this dolem's job is basically to stay outside of range, because at this point, what has Hayato done? He's punched the shit out of lots of dolems.
Yeah.
And so this one is just going, right, well, we think he can fly up to about this high, so I've gone even higher than that, and I'm just going to sit here and stare at him, and eventually he's going to get weirded out by my stare.
That's the thing, it is the staring contest, dolem. We'll talk...
It's also so far away that you can't even see it with the natural eye.
I mean, they straight up talk about and say, well, we literally have nothing that can get at it. Let's just... And Yagumo, who starts to really get into these two episodes, Terra as a defensive organisation, says...
We're here for research and defence.
Yeah, so it's not our problem. We're just going to stay here at alert status and just wait.
This is a case of, we'll stay on alert, but it's not really doing anything, and we don't just attack Moulians that turn up. I was like, really? It does feel like you do.
No, the
they're
mutants are
yeah,
generally always
we'll be
approaching
sent
something.
now. Yeah, but they do often. This isn't like a who shot first issue. This is just, yeah, the Major usually does fire on the Dolums first. He just seemed incredibly defense-based this time. But yeah, I'm fully aware that the Dolums... I wouldn't mind seeing just what would happen if a Dolum did just fly up to Terra and not do anything. They'd probably still shoot it.
I think they would, but that's because it's encroaching on their territory. It's not really in their territory, it's in orbit now. But I do like how they just straight up say, no, we'll stay on it, and we'll stay on, what was it, in my version it was like stage 3 alert or something.
Yeah,
it was. Wow, an alert that is below, that is, somewhere in between, nothing is happening, and oh my god, defensive level 1, maximum alert, because, these shows always operate on those 2 bits, don't they?
Well, this show in particular there are 2 levels. They have go to the beach and go to the RahXephon. Where is Ayato? He's currently at the beach. Get that man in the RahXephon! The Dolem is dead. Get that man back to the beach!
Get him back to the beach to look at the ocean.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. They only have 2 levels.
Well, no, this one they do have. They have another level. They have this weird level 3 alert where they say they're at alert, but they seem to act completely normal anyway.
No, they at alert because, in my view, being at alert at level 3 would mean that you kept your people on base and near the RahXephon without actually, you wouldn't be on alert all the time, but you don't want him to go home, for example.
Yeah, you don't want him to go home.
Possibly have him go to, say, Itsuki's house, which we've already documented multiple times is a fucking long way away.
Yeah, we don't go to Itsuki's house, which requires a boat ride and sit around. But
there isn't a quick teleport button. You couldn't talk to Itsuki in the lab where you couldn't instantly go to the RahXephon, or in the command center where you can also instantly go to the RahXephon. No, we have to go to Itsuki's house at this point. So let's be on alert level 3, but how about we send all our pilots away, including Ayato, who can go over there?
For those who don't know, that is what happens at the moment.
That is what happens.
I just realised we've kind of rushed ahead, but yeah, the idea is, we're on 3rd level alert, which Haruka even says, that was a good decision by Yagumo. But it's like, what?
What sign of being on alert have we got? Because if the alert, it's clearly we don't keep the pilots around, but the RahXephon doesn't need any prep it's not like we have to keep it armed or keep it powered or anything we don't normally. There is no visible change to this other than telling everyone, by the way, there's a Dolem there, so be on alert.
Yeah, be on alert, dude.
That's it. So maybe there's something off screen we can't see, like they're only allowed a toilet break every 5 hours or something. But there isn't any real notable difference for the rest of the episode about the alert status.
Indeed.
Anyway,
but while they were mentioning this, we stretched
it out. So moving back to the actual what's going on, we have Haruka and Elvi are talking about how the level alert status is going to be changing their lives. When,
Sayako turns up.
Yeah, and says, you're planning a girls' night. Now, I think that's pretty fucking dismissive of them, in that, yes, I know they go out drinking and they're friends and stuff, but frankly, if I walk up to 2 people in my office who are talking and just said, you're planning a night out then, the response I'd get most of the time is, no, we were discussing that business issue.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they are genuinely discussing the issue of the base, the Dolem attacking. And this woman just comes up and goes, but you're planning to go drinking. That's the only thing you guys do, after all.
Well,
it's just such a bitch comment. No, I know, but it's still quite a bitchy comment to open your dialogue with, really, is planning a girls' night out, and of course not inviting me. At which point, Haruka then feels super fucking guilty and goes, well, of course you're invited. And Elvi says, I'll fucking rip your face off if you think of coming.
She doesn't say that, but she acts kind of like, I didn't think you'd want to hang out with us. And she's like, I can do that. And I can hold my liquor pretty well. Backstab.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Sort of like, because we all know Elvi kind of can't really hold her booze.
She just immediately has one sip and fawns over the local 17-year-old.
Yeah.
This is also a weird power play conversation as well, because at this point Elvi just gets a bit pissy and leaves.
Yeah.
At which point, so Haruka reminds us all that she saw evidence that Sayako is clearly sleeping with Makoto.
Yeah.
Now, this is basically Sayako was having sex while on duty, watching someone, and then just walked out and completely left her alone, at which point the girl escaped.
Yes.
Now, this is kind of a
last
major
episode.
fuck-up that Sayako should have been punished for, and people probably would have mentioned is not a good thing that she's done. I mean, it's pretty pissed at her. At which point, Haruka has kind of got a reason of, oh, that would make things so much worse because, you know, if it was found out that she wasn't just not really paying attention, if she was actively distracted by the whole sleeping with a superior officer in a different command structure, that actually would make things much worse. However, Sayako acts like she's needing a favor in return. Like, you owe me. You found out about my ridiculous dereliction of duty.
No, I don't think she says anything about that. Or at least not in my version.
Well, in my one, right. So she says, Haruka says about...
She doesn't ask for a favour, she just asks about Specimen 1. Because Haruka's like trying to be really nice to her and like, I'm a bit worried about you because, oh god, that was a big mistake. I'm not going to dab you out on it, but, you got to be careful. And she's like, oh, you don't need to worry about me. I'm fine.
No. Sayako then says, in the English version anyway, she says, since you know something about me, you can tell me something about you. I'm like, that's not how this works! That really isn't how this works. But Haruka acts like, oh yeah, you're right. I suppose I really better tell you something important and secret because I know that you had sex at work while you were meant to be looking after a coma girl.
Haruka Stowe, best spy.
No.
Haruka, Asian Haruka, I happen to know something. Oh bugger. Well, I'd best tell you something else that's important. That is, of course, the code.
Yes. Haruka, yes. I'm afraid I fell asleep last week while on duty. You won't tell anyone, will you? No, I won't. Oh, good. Well, now that I've told you that, you owe me.
Do you know the spies from the badly written spy show sketch from Mitchell and Webb? Do you remember that one with the lazy writers who don't do research and they do like a crappy version of a spy show?
It is kind of... Haruka could be the lead in that.
Haruka could be the lead in that show.
Haruka, have you put all your special spy kids away? Yes, I did. Just how they taught me in training. Under the bed, behind my old shoes. Nobody will look there.
Nobody will look there, especially since it's covered in all my pictures of a certain 17-year-old boy. They'll be more distracted by that.
I know. But, anyway, yeah, so...
So, strictly speaking,
Sayako
is sort of...
Sayako says...
Is asking casually about Human Experiment 1.
She says, you owe me a question. You owe me an answer. You could tell me in just you owe me way about Human Specimens 1. Is it true that it was first discovered in 1989?
Oh, that's impossible. That was way before the whole Mu event.
I mean, that was 10 years before any of the Mulians ever turned up in any way, ever. And all of the specimens we have were the ones taken from Tokyo. So it would have to been after Tokyo went up and we nicked people from it. The thing is, right, a lot of the dialogue in this, I'm not criticising, I'm not saying it's a fault of the show, but one thing I've noticed is
Can be.
a lot of the dialogue here really is a case of, I know something, you should know something, but you don't, so I'm going to talk to you, implying that it's not true that you know. This is the best example. I'm not sure I'm explaining it very well, but it's a case...
Are you perhaps referring to a thing that we call as you know dialogue? As you know... The first sample of the Mulians was discovered in 1989. I don't think it's quite that bad.
No, it isn't as you know dialogue. This is the thing. It's not as you know dialogue. It's the same thing that the reporter always does. It's asking questions you already know the answer to steer the person you are talking to towards it. So saying to Haruka, oh, so is it true that the 1989 was or, oh, were you aware, or do you know about the people who spirited away or spirited forth? And it's that sort of, we all know what we're talking about, but let's not actually talk about it. Let's dance around the subject dialogue. I suppose this is actually slightly different than normal because this is one that Haruka genuinely doesn't know. Because, spoiler alert, it turns out that it's right that the first Mulian subject was from 1989. But still, that is far too early, and as such, we're going to have to get a reason why. But once this scene is over, we go to Uncle Ritsuko, and Jin is paying him a visit.
Yep, and the cat loves Jin.
Oh, I know, I love that.
All throughout this whole conversation, the
cat just keeps trying to play with Jin.
Yeah, and Jin keeps, tossing him away.
Brought Holly to a point of, oh, don't be mean to the cat, sort of thing. And after all, who can blame him? I mean, I like Jin, and I really don't think less of him because he doesn't want to play with the ugliest cat that ever lived.
Indeed.
They have a nice bit of thing of reminding us of the time, because it's been 5 months since Operation Overlord, and that was the last time I saw you. One thing I actually noticed is that Jin is quite deferential towards Ritsuko, and Ritsuko, as a retired archaeologist, doesn't really have any reason why anyone would treat him with such respect in this situation, other than maybe that it's in his house. But then also talks about, inquires after Watari, the other commander of Terror, the one that's usually
the
media.
director.
The actual director, yes.
Yeah, the
director.
media face and the guy who drums up all the money.
Yeah.
And which again, I know I've mentioned this a lot, but I do love that that's Watari's job. It's like keeping people engaged with the fact that there's a giant F-off Jupiter-shaped sphere that's covered all of Jupiter, and this is a bad thing. And everyone's like, it's not blowing up any of our countries.
Well, do we care? I mean, it's like the idea that, Independence Day. Imagine if in the film Independence Day, the ships came down, blew up the White House, blew up a lot of things in New York, blew up a lot of America, and then for 10 years didn't do anything. And they had to send some guy round from America, all the other countries, going, you realise this is an invasion still on? And the French are like, well, it doesn't affect us.
Yeah, I'm not
going to the Russians.
Actually, this reminded me. Money. You've just reminded me of like the stupidest link ever, which is this sounds very similar to the plot of Red Alert 2, because America is invaded by the Soviet Union. And everyone in Europe goes, as you know, I'm afraid America is very far away. We can't possibly help you. The fucking Soviets have invaded the US. This is
a big
Operation
deal.
Red Dawn. And they're like, oh, well, you know. It's like the guy there.
It's such a long journey.
They had like the most Sarkoziest looking fake French actor. American actor putting on a French accent for that guy. It was hilarious. And this is way off topic, but they also have someone basically being Margaret Thatcher as well, which I loved playing that game.
Yeah.
The head of the UK was still Margaret Thatcher.
To be fair, way off topic is really it's
the theme of this show. Yeah,
this is our comfort zone. Way off topic,
which is always bad because we're terrible when ships go down. You guys are way off topic, as in out of the life raft. Yeah, but we're comfortable out here.
It's nice. I mean, this shark's my friend, aren't you, Sharky? See, now we've ended up being friends with Shark. That's off topic.
That's off topic.
Dragging
back on it. So yes.
Dragging back.
Anyway, Kunugi
once again have to find my place in my dense notes.
Commander Kunugi is having a talk.
Yes. Once again, I found this interesting because this is sort of the first real implication we've had that they know each other that well because they call each other by their first names. For a start, which is very, if you know anything about Japanese culture, that's like best mates forever necklaces in Japan.
Not quite, but yeah, it does show a certain...
You're telling me old men calling each other by their first names isn't best friends forever?
Well, let's not forget that Akagi and Washizu also told it.
Fine, they're either best friends forever, or they're in a blood competition about the shogi board that Riku's always playing with.
Well, let's just say, right, that it shows a lack of formality, so they're being straight with each other. Which is true. I think all the old people seem to know each other in this one. Everyone older than 29 knows each other.
You are older than 29.
You're part
Nobody
of
has ever lied to you.
Yeah. Well, no,
and everyone has always told each other everything. It's like, but don't tell anyone below our generation.
It does seem that way, though. Come on.
It really does.
Everyone older than 29 in this show pretty much knows everything about everyone
straight away.
And he gives Kunigi gives the uncle plat-through of souvenirs from Watari, because Watari is the souvenir master.
He is. He's basically the only reason why the tourist economies of the world still work.
Yeah.
Because Watari keeps turning up and buying souvenirs for everyone in Japan. Yeah, we then have Sayako Ayato in the changing room, where Sayako goes, well, this is the men's changing room. This is my comfort zone.
Yeah, I'm just going to walk in here and take advantage of his teenagerness to try and squeeze info. This is the one problem with this idea, Sayako, because she's trying to gain information to barter with Makoto in exchange for other information or assistance. But this just doesn't work because she's asking the two most ignorant characters. She's asking Haruka and Ayato. She's like, these fonts of knowledge will reveal all to me. And throughout this episode, they give her nothing.
No, there is also a deleted scene where she goes, the third person who will finish my trifecta of knowledge. What do you say, you, Bucci the cat?
That should have been in this episode.
I'll put you in my breasts if you tell me what I want to know.
Oh, Bucci would probably reveal the secrets of the universe if you did that.
Yeah, that's entirely true. Bucci loves both bras and women. I mean, we all remember the scene where Bucci seduces Megami.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, that was an awful...
I just remembered that scene.
Thank you. Thanks there.
That was so awkward.
Of all the scenes...
What? No, I'm not even going to go there. We did that enough when it happened. Christ. So, yes, moving on from the bestiality scenes, back to Sayako trying to seduce Ayato in exchange for information which Ayato doesn't know. She also goes, hey, why don't you go and visit Quan? That's a great idea. I'm sure she'd love that. Hint, hint, hint.
Yeah, she seems to not get... She doesn't even get the idea of the relationship between Quan and Ayato.
No, I know. I also... She always seems to be trying to set them up. It's in multiple occasions that she's trying to set up those two.
The reason for that is obvious. Is that she likes Itsuki. Itsuki likes Quan. And she believes Itsuki likes Quan in a romantic sense. So she's trying to pair them off so that Itsuki's alone.
Someone. Yeah, that Itsuki's not got someone. Or at least something along those lines.
Well, more that she's the only person who's still looking after Itsuki.
Yeah, that's true. Which is a reasonable idea, and I suppose he is the only 17-year-old boy around that you could throw at Quan repeatedly until it sticks.
I don't know. I think from her point of view, it makes sense. They do have...
They have a lot in common. They have a lot of Olans and have weird tattoos. I mean, hey, is that not the best way of, seducing your first girlfriend, Ayato? Hey, I've got this really weird tattoo, and I hear you do as well. Shall we compare?
Shall we compare the weird tattoo?
That's certainly how I remember my teenage years.
So now, Haruka, we have this intercutting scene of Haruka reading Quan's totally fake history.
Yes.
That we already know is fake, so it seems a bit weird. But the more interesting thing is the flashback of Haruka during the Tokyo Jupiter incident.
This is actually, it flashes back pretty much all of Haruka's childhood, bit by bit, comes through, or days up until this point. But also, while she's doing this, can I point out again, what a terrible spy Haruka is at this point, because she's looking at the fake files that have Quan's history in them.
And Quan's photos of
she's looking
who
at
took these photos.
Well, also, I'd like to point out, right, these aren't like your PI photos of people going in and out of buildings, people talking to other people. This is photos of Quan under a tree, having a picnic, looking out over the ocean. This is like
she's rated Itsuki's photo
reel.
Album, yeah.
I know. It's like I really need a lot
love photo album.
I know. So this isn't anything relevant. This really is just a case of it helps me to look at pictures of the woman I'm thinking about while I'm trying to think about her. This is again, she's just not a good spy.
Yeah. Good thing you transferred, Haruka. I mean, I'm amazed you kept it up for as long as you did.
I know. I mean, the thing is, though, we were always going on about how incredibly capable she was and how she's introduced as a very useful, capable character.
Yeah. Oh, she is.
Because at the beginning, she really is. And then this sort of stuff makes you think, have you, just in the last 5 months, forgotten everything you ever knew about being a spy?
Hugh, I just realised we've missed this epic foreshadowing. Haruka's a Mulian. Her Mu phase has awakened, that she has forgotten all of her spy knowledge. That
joke doesn't even work, because that only counts in the film. It's only in the film that Mulians forget things.
No, they can forget things in this one. We had a whole thing about how they really glaze over it. That Itsuki...
No, yeah, we have a thing about how they can change your memories and manipulate them. But no, becoming a Mulian doesn't make you forget everything in the series. It's only the films that do that. But yes, no, it certainly would be grounds for that if we were looking for it. But either that, or she's having early onset Alzheimer's or a stroke.
Oh, that's just sad. That's dark even for me.
Yes, I admit that is dark. I suppose, I apologise for dragging us to that level. We'll go back to the cat.
I don't know. Now I'm thinking of Haruka meeting up with Akagi again.
Yeah.
What would you recommend? Well,
I think we should all play Mahjong. That's all you ever want to do, Akagi. That's all you ever want to do.
It's either Mahjong or euthanasia with you.
Which is why you only have 3 friends left, and that's not enough to play Mahjong after you kill another one.
Yeah.
This is your last Mahjong game before it gets inappropriate. Anyway.
So yes,
so really nice scenes of Haruka's past. So the first one we have is
black and
when
white.
they heard about Tokyo Jupiter going up, which is her as a schoolgirl. I believe she'd be in middle school at this point.
No,
Yeah,
she's in high school. She's wearing a high school. Oh no, wait, yeah, you're right. She's wearing a middle school uniform. Yeah.
no, yeah. I think she's 14 at this point, which middle school,
Yeah.
and her mother is pregnant at the time as well, which means that would be Megami. And once again, to reaffirm my previous mathematics, Megami isn't yet born, and Tokyo Jupiter's gone up.
Yeah.
And Megami cannot have met Ayato previous to leaving Tokyo.
Yeah.
Because when he last saw the Shito family, or whatever the hell their name was back then, there wasn't Megami. He probably didn't know about the pregnancy, though, if he hadn't, forgotten everything about knowing and going out with Haruka.
Yeah. But,
Yes,
so we have this
also
pretty
about
much.
her husband is also missing, which also explains why she remarried. And there isn't like child of divorce or fighting parents. It's literally your husband was trapped in Tokyo Jupiter or killed. It's not quite made clear that the husband is just missing.
Yeah.
So,
well, imagine getting cut in half by the Tokyo Jupiter field, and so all of a sudden one half of you ages 7 times faster.
it'd be worse. Yeah, it'd be worse if you weren't killed by that.
Yeah.
If you just couldn't move and you were just stuck there, and you were like, "Oh God, you know what? I'm constantly constipated because when I eat, it takes 7 times longer for it to go through my lower intestine than it does my stomach."
Oh dear. Let's
Yeah.
hope that's not what happened to Haruka's father
Actually,
then.
do you know what would happen? Is the blood would just build up. You'd lose all your blood because it would keep pumping
You're
out
right.
to the bits through the wall,
Yeah.
and I think you'd end up with the bits through the wall probably bursting from the pressure.
Yeah, time dilation.
Yeah, time dilation. It'll fucking kill you. Well done. Right. So yeah, the next scene we have is Haruka and Itsuki at university or high school. It's not.
I wondered whether or not you wanted to go with that with university, but yeah, it's very obviously Haruka and Itsuki talking
Yeah.
together at university. Not only to the fact is Itsuki's voice is exactly the same,
Yeah, the voice actors are the same.
but
They
it's
look the same.
well, you don't
and-
ever see their face.
No, but I mean their dress sense.
Yeah,
Is
their
what I was
dress
gonna
is very much similar.
Their dress
And-
And Itsuki he says, "So what do you do?" And Itsuki goes, "Well, I try and turn music into work." Itsuki just describes his fucking job now.
Yeah, he describes his exact job now. So it's like,
So-
oh well, that's clearly Itsuki.
Look, I am all for. Look, you may have noticed if you've already seen the series and you're aware that we've both seen the series, you may notice that often when I explain something that's happened, I say how it looks to a first-time viewer rather than saying what actually happens because, trying to avoid
It's a
spoilers.
bit, well, it would be a bit mean on the people watching this for the first time.
Exactly,
with us.
yeah. But the thing is, this isn't something that we're going to go, oh, and that was a big reveal later. No, if you didn't spot that it was Itsuki and Haruka talking, this show might get a bit twisty for you, and you want a bit of help with it. You might want to look up on the internet some cheat sheets or something, because that's one of the most obvious things that's going to happen in the next couple of episodes. Yeah, so I rather liked that scene as well. I thought it was quite good, and also gives a nice pre-existing relationship there. We then have, and the next scene being Haruka and Megami coming to live at Uncle Ritsuki's house, and this is obviously when she's just finished uni, I would have thought.
Well, she's in a uniform, so maybe high school. This is the thing. I got the feeling it flicked back and forth. So that was when she was in university, and then the next preview of Haruka's past, we've gone further back in time than that.
See, I wondered about that because I tried to work out where she would have been if she was at uni with Itsuki. Because I do think that they were probably at university, the two of them there,
Yes, I
rather
agree.
than high school.
Yeah.
But it's a case of if she moved to Nirai Kanai with Ritsuko to go and work for Terra, do you think she then maybe started work at Terra like Megami did at 16 and then went to uni like sponsored by Terra? Or
yeah, could be.
maybe. I thought that could be a one.
Yeah.
But because you're right. She does look younger here than she would have been in the previous bit. So unless the last one was high school and this is her just finished high school, about to start work at Terra and owns no clothes other than her school uniform, turning up at Rizko's place. But also, I'd like to say as well, Rizko's place is pretty fucking barren at the time that she arrives as well.
Yeah.
He clearly didn't have much in the way of extra stuff.
Well, dude just sat around making ink and playing shogi. He doesn't need a lot of space.
And saying, wow, I'm a retired archaeologist. I suppose I've been retired forever. Because he might have actually been a non-retired archaeologist at the time, but we don't really know. He's always just... I mean, he looked the same age, to be fair, at that point. One of these people that doesn't age at all. Yeah, we then cut as well, again, to Operation Overlord, which is Haruka questioning why the hell Kwon is a part of Operation Overlord.
Yeah, why is she here?
Yeah, which is just a bit odd. And being told that she is necessary for Operation Overlord. Now, I am fine with this being, Kwon is necessary, except that I know all of the shit that's in this series, and frankly, I don't think she is necessary. Why was Kwon there? Really? I mean, she didn't go into Tokyo. We didn't have a thing of, like, Hayato and Kwon synchronizing or calling to one another or being drawn to Kwon.
She did tell something to Jin.
What, that the Dolan was on its way?
Well, something right at the beginning, the very first episode. She's the first person that arrives, and she does talk something about the situation.
All right, fine, yes. We do need Kwon on this mission.
You do know how the...
Why?
That's how the
because of esoteric bullshit. She's got to stand there and spout nonsense that doesn't really make any sense except via hindsight.
I'm sorry, that's just how science works in RahXephon with Kwon. How do we work with this subject? We wave it vaguely at things, and we see what happens. They are just, as always, they're just finding an excuse to wave Kwon in the general direction of stuff.
Yes, and then luckily at this point she was clothed, because usually you were waving Kwon in her underwear in the general direction of stuff.
Yeah, so yeah, you want to complain about that. Be thankful at least that she's still got her clothes on.
Yes, so anyway, we now have, after Haruka decides that being a terrible spy is causing her investigation to stall, she goes to look at the shrine again, because the shrine is the unanswered question here. Of course, the reporter turns up, because the reporter doesn't have anything better to do than track the movements of everyone without them realizing that he's tracking the movements of everyone, whilst simultaneously finding out every plot point in the whole show.
I'm sorry, you're saying why should he? This really sounds quite normal. I mean, he is a reporter.
Yes, my point, I was simply making the contrast that we now have someone who has worked for intelligence and someone who apparently doesn't, who is the greatest spy that ever lived. Because, like I said, he keeps track of all the people, all the information, tells whoever it is selectively, knows everything, and even finds time to just potter around shops all the time as well. So, and this is without giving any real access into Terra. Anyway, so they meet up, and he does get pretty much outright told by Haruka, "You are a spy. Everybody knows you are a spy. Stop pretending you are not a spy.
You are such a spy.
Such a spy.
Spy stab.
Right now."
What I love is how he talks. He says, have you heard, the Barnum Foundation? Do you know back when it was founded that it had the same guy? And she was like, well, the guy's name was Ernst von Barnum.
Yeah,
their name was the same.
No. I mean, they look exactly the same as well. What, you mean that the family has some sort of familial appearance? They look similar to other members of their family. Yeah, no, it's the same guy.
Yeah, Vidgummy straight up says it's the same guy, and that he's found this out, and that the pictures that they have of him are all the same. To which I can only say, dude, you're not even trying to hide that you're secret.
No, I think he just doesn't bother at this point at all.
Wait, he never bothered.
I know, even in the beginning episodes.
It
even
seems
when
that
he
for
was
some reason
at the press conference, he just stood up and went, "Hi, yes, the spy, third row on the left."
Yeah. Yeah, it does seem that Ernst von Braunum, the guy we've only seen a bit of, but the old guy who was talking to Watari and Jin early on, and then later was talking to Helena only a few episodes ago, or last episode even, is Ernst von Braunum and has always been in charge of the Barnum Foundation.
Yes, and hasn't aged, and is in fact immortal.
Well, I don't think he goes that far, but he says it's the same person. And so we're like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
But I love how the fact that it seems really obvious, and you think someone before Fujikami would have noticed this.
I know. Well, the thing is, no, he's a big recluse, isn't he?
I suppose, he is a big recluse. Yes, he doesn't appear
All
in
you
front
have
of
to
everyone.
do is basically say, "Oh yeah, I had a kid. I named him Ernst von Barham the 17th. Once he's of age and I'm dead, then he'll take over." And then you just wait until you're obscenely old in everyone's eyes, like 100 and something, and he would be like 60. And then you go, "Hey, don't we look similar? Yeah, I mean, I hadn't seen your dad for the last 30 years, but you do look a lot like him when he was your age," and just do that.
Yeah.
So I think it is kind of doable that you'd keep hiding it, but only people who actually were in a lot of contact with the Barham Foundation, had to see him a lot, would notice. And those are the people who wouldn't really been in a position to say anything, like, Helena, who is ostensibly in his family because she is a von Barham as well.
Yeah, she's got the last name von Barham.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I think what we should do as well is we should rewatch the whole series again, and every time that he appears on screen, the Big Hero 6 ending song, Immortals?
Yeah!
Play that whenever he comes in. Just every time he walks up, "We could be immortals!" Anyway.
Even then, I would say he doesn't say that he is immortal, as he is a thing that lives forever.
No.
He's just looked the same and been the same this whole time.
He's been alive a long time, and he's looked the same, is the point people are making here.
Yeah.
But
I think, I think if he had solid ideas of him being immortal, he'd straight up say it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so Haruka is exceedingly skeptical at this, which, frankly, I'm not quite sure whether that's the right response or not, because yes, it's quite a skeptical thing when someone if someone told me that, the lawyers I was using have actually been run by the same guy for the last 500 years, I'd go, yeah, that's kind of a ridiculous statement. But if I was in a world where music was all words and could make things explode and make people feel things, where rocks could regrow from nothing and were ostensibly alive in a lot of ways, where there was a giant sphere and time dilation happened, the idea that there's a dimensional being as well around called Amulian and that they're fundamentally different from people. If you then said to me, "Oh yeah, and also there's a guy that doesn't age," you'd kind of go, yeah, that could happen. I don't see I get the skepticism, but I also think, the moment you realize you're in an anime that's a fantasy or a sci-fi, you should probably suspend your disbelief and just take everything as possible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Does seem odd.
We then cut to
the creep bar.
The creep bar, yes.
Because I can only think of it as the creep bar because this is the bar where Makoto
creeps everyone the fuck out,
and sexually assaulted Sayako. So it's like,
but
ugh.
This is probably the bar in the hotel, I think. And yeah, as such, it's also, doesn't it ever seem to have anyone in it other than those two as well?
There is a bit later, I think, where two other people are in a similar looking bar.
A similar look. I don't think it's the same bar. No, that's not a bar. That's someone's house.
No. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about another one.
Another one.
Yeah, there's another one later where two people are in a similar looking bar that has a better window. It could be the same. Could be the same bar. Could not be. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But in this, they're basically saying, "Are you not a spy?" I'm totally not a spy.
Well, no, they are. They are both spies.
Yeah, no, I know, but they're also being really fucking obvious about it. But they're basically talking about being spies and flirting, and Sayako passes him an important
piece of
what's future USB.
Yeah,
basically.
Some sort of future USB disc thing in an envelope, and Makoto straight out takes it out and looks at it, going, "Awesome spy thing here."
Thank you for stealing this for me, Miss Sayako. Thank you for stealing this from Terra, from the science department, just in case people weren't aware.
Indeed.
So, yeah. We then have a quick flash up of the Dolem just to remind us it exists.
Yeah.
Because, frankly,
do you remember that Dolem
we probably
that
need
they
to
were
be
on alert about?
Yeah, we're all on alert about the Dolem. And then, of course, we go back to where clearly alert is being taken incredibly seriously because Ayato has gone round to Kwon's house.
Yep.
So she's then playing the violin for him and says, "Hey, why don't you play the violin? Because people can do that." Just pick it up and immediately know it. Ayato thankfully goes, "I can't just immediately pick up a violin and play it." And Kwon goes, "Well, you're an instrumentalist. I mean, Ishli wants you to play it.
Yeah,
We're not talking about the violin here anymore, are we?"
Yeah, no, she says, in the Japanese one, she says, "You pilot the RahXephon, though, as if, because you can pilot the RahXephon, you should be able to play a violin."
Hey, it works for some characters in Gundam Wing.
Oh, yes, it does. No, I think they learned that separately.
Really? Oh, I just assumed that the two were the same. Okay. Morning, mech piloting. Evening, violin lessons.
But,
natural learning to fly giant robots.
Well, Quan is slowly getting explained, why a violin isn't the same as a robot. Haruka talks...
And it's, inside, having a nice drink together.
Yeah.
And
There's
Haruka
some nice
is
animation in the mirror. I like the way it's shot. You see them in the mirror.
This is the bit that I actually said was really well animated, the bit at night. And yeah, we have here Haruka saying, "You never said you had a sister when we were when we went out. You never mentioned her at all." And frankly, if you've been going out with someone it is implied they dated for quite some time.
Yeah.
Because Megami knew him, and got on with him and remembers him fondly. That's not just we went out for a week and then called it off. I mean, I got the implication it was at least months that they were together. Not knowing he had a sister really is a big deal at this point. So after being told, pretty much everything about Quan's fabricated, we then get told, hey, you never mentioned you had a sister. Is it because you didn't at that point? But, yeah.
What interesting logic.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. Itsuki basically straight up says, you hid things from me. You never mentioned things to me. He's like, yeah, but not on the level of, do you have any siblings? I mean, I don't know if you've ever, anyone listening, if you've ever been going out with someone for several months and never asked, ever. So, siblings? Parents? Do you know anything about them? I think it is quite odd not to have any information at that point. He then says, why did you end things? I want you so bad. Here, let me drape myself over you.
What is with that creepy hug?
I know! He literally stands behind her and, lies down on her, draping his arms around her.
Like some sort of creepy sloth.
Yeah, it's just a case of, this is my sexual harassment pose.
And it gets worse when he then kisses her.
Yeah, forces her just straight up. Doesn't he, straight up grab her jaw and turn her head and kiss her?
He has come from the same school of romance that Makoto's got.
Yeah.
The
pin them down and make sure they can't say no school.
Yeah. The bastard school.
Yeah, the absolute bastard school. We're very much against this sort of practice.
Yeah,
I think
it's kind of a shame. Because when they showed up, both Itsuki and Makoto were kind of sexy, and you were like, I want to know about these guys. And it turns out these guys are bastards.
Hey there, we'll treat you like you have no rights and aren't people. Yeah, that's incredibly attractive to us. So, yeah, after...
Well, I would say I was fine when he was doing it to Ayato, but,
yeah, but that's because he's a 17-year-old boy.
Exactly.
Glasses men are allowed to do that to 17-year-old boys. It's one of the rules of Japanese animation.
Indeed it is.
So this is another thing. So he's basically saying, why did you end things? You were stuck. Yeah, no, he says, your clock was stuck, and I tried to fix it, and you thought Terra could fix it, you thought I could fix it, and, I tried to fix your clock. Did you get the same, sexual connotations to that line that we did in the English? It's just I fixed your clock as often as I could, but I couldn't get it going. I really tried. It just didn't work. But this is another thing is because I am a substitute, or you treated me like a substitute.
Yeah.
That's the first time it's ever said, but yeah, this is the thing that has been implied quite a bit through the whole thing. Makoto implies it to Itsuki before when Itsuki is trying to pilot the RahXephon and just try and prove he is as good as Ayato. Because it does seem that Itsuki has a bit of an inferiority complex about Ayato, and it also does seem he vaguely knows about the whole Haruka Ayato thing, and that may be the reason why he decides to force kiss her the moment Ayato walks in the room.
Yeah, Ayato sees it. This is such a really...
Yeah.
And Ayato is this is where Ayato starts to get, in the story, for the next few episodes, he starts to get really teen, is how I describe it. He is so teen in this.
He really, really is quite teen at this point. But the thing is, though, as Holly pointed out, that she gets force kissed, and then she pushes him away, and is "Get off me! What are you doing?" sort of thing. And no one mentions that. It's it's basically he walks in on a sexual assault, and then goes, I feel so betrayed because of what you're doing, not get the fuck off her, and punches him in the face, which is the more appropriate response.
Yeah, I think
Really.
this really shows a bit of a lapse in judgment.
I think he's just sort of like, oh, but I just got to the point where I was admitting I liked her. Because, yeah, he really has. I mean, we had, was it 3 episodes or 2 episodes ago, we had him feeling her imaginary tits in Imagination Land. And then we had him staring at her real tits in elevators and getting super embarrassed. And then got to the point where he could now look at her breasts, but not get so embarrassed he had to leave the room. Just be so embarrassed that he had to eat weird food. And so, and then he started talking and then trying to get her sister's consent. Like, she's got no boyfriend, right? I can totally go for this woman 12 years older than me, right? To get this immediate, oh my god, what if she's with someone her own age and peer group, and doesn't just want 17-year-olds who happen to be living next door. So yeah, he just seemed to be getting a betrayal. But instead of having any sort of conversation about this, anyone trying to explain anything, they do just stare at one another.
Yeah, no, they just stare and are all like, for like way too long.
Yeah, and then Kwon walks in behind him and is just like, why are you staring at each other? This is odd. But in the Kwon way of doing that, which is by staying completely silent.
Yep. Not even going, Rara?
No, not even making her stupid fucking noise. Just stands there. We then have the Dolum going, hey, I'm going to change the subject. Sing.
Yeah.
But only Kwon and Ayato can hear it. Apparently, this is why I was saying, this is why I try and vaguely defend the Dolum. Because the Dolum works on Kwon. It says, hey, you belong with me. Come back. You totally want to come back to the Mulian place, right? And Kwon goes, yep, I'm up for that. Let's go.
See, now I didn't see that as influence by the Dolum. I just saw that as Kwon being Kwon.
Well, no, because the thing is, she starts saying what the Dolum is. Because whenever she hears Dolum music, she puts that into words, what the aria is. And in this, she says, she starts saying, you belong here, come back. And then she starts leaving to go to it. And it's only Ayato that says, no, that song is evil, don't listen to it. That stops her. So, honestly, if Ayato hadn't have been with Kwon at the time, it probably would have worked. They probably would have got Kwon to go with them. So that's why I'm saying it's not the most useless of the Dolums. There have been more pathetic Dolums in this series, and probably will continue to have more pathetic Dolums.
Took itself a long, sweet time to get doing it, though.
No, I know. There wasn't really any reason for it to have stood there for a day going, shall I sing? No, I'm just shy.
I need the right lighting. I need moonlight.
Yeah, I've got to be doing it during the full moonlight. Oh, no, it's a bit overcast. No one could see me. So, yeah, this is Kwon starts to have some flashbacks from the Dolum's music. So first she says, is this who I am? And has some flashbacks. The first one being waking up in a bed and Barbum at her side saying, good morning, Kwon. So she's obviously acquainted with Barbum.
It's Barbum, not Barbum.
It's yeah.
Barbum.
Is it?
Sorry.
I'm saying it as...
I'm always unsure how to pronounce that. It's a very difficult to pronounce name. But go on. No,
the English one is always Barbum.
Let's go with the English pronunciation. Yeah, Barbum.
The next so that one's not particularly evidential, but the next two are very much influencing. The next one is the silhouette of Watari's back and Maya, Ayato's mother, talking about how Kwon will understand someday, is what Maya says. This is also when Kwon is in, hospital place again. So, this is interesting because we have the first sort of evidence that Watari and Maya knew each other, and Kwon prior to this as well. And obviously, this must be before Tokyo Jupiter, or where Ayato's mother has come out at some point. So, either of those two options is rather interesting, because either she's come out and then met Watari, and that implies that the leader of Terra has met the leader of the Mulians since the boat barrier went up.
Which I can't really believe.
Yeah, it doesn't... Yeah, no, that if that has happened is a huge deal. But the other one being that they knew each other before the barrier went up, and that is far more likely, because it does seem that she was a big deal before she went off to be the head of the Mu. The third flashback we get is her waking up at a shrine. And if you remember before, we had
what
in
kind of shrine in the
1989 a shrine spat out with a spiriting forth 2 young girls, one of whom had Quan-like hair. So yeah, this basically, I know we did a little thing of it was probably Quan's mother or something before, but no, this is the it was Quan.
Yeah, it was
which
Quan.
means that as well, Quan came out of that thing in 1989,
so he's
and
either
as such,
a lot older. It's sort of like some sort of reverse version of Barnum, or something else has happened because Quan is quite clearly not that old.
No, exactly. Quan is 16. Everyone says, and has looked
16.
16.
Don't you know? She's like nice
has looked
chow.
16 for like 20-something years. So yeah, there's that.
Quan Kusanagi, 16 years old.
Now the other girl that's with her is crying with like long dark hair, but there's nothing really to evidence who that is at this point. So we then have Ayato, who has decided that since his mother's going to get some speaking parts in Quan's flashbacks, he better get in on the action, and starts hearing her voice telling her, "Come back, this is where you belong. Look, I can drape myself over you in a creepy way. I learned it from a scientist."
Ayato also, is having like some flashbacks to sort of having like both flashbacks or illusions of his mother. But now, did you notice this is the one bit where the art really takes a sudden drop? How bad Ayato's face looks, because they have a close-up side of his face. He looks like a Kaiji extra.
Yeah, that's true.
He
It is a
looks
bit.
like an extra from Kaiji, and unlike in that, the characters in RahXephon don't look like the characters in Kaiji, so it looks weird. It's so unique.
Yeah, no, it's not the best this bit, but no, I do think. I did think it was good overall, though. I mean, I thought for a start, his mother's tends to be very well drawn. Like,
Yeah. Well, no, but screw that. That face really took me out of the whole thing.
I wasn't looking at Ayato really at that point. I don't think it was more concentrating on the whole thing.
If you haven't seen that, go back. If you didn't see that, maybe people listening didn't see that. Go back, look at this scene where Ayato's mother, where Maya is draping herself over Ayato,
and just look at Ayato's.
And there's a close-up of Ayato's face, side on, in this moment. Look at his face and tell me it does not look ridiculous.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Right. So we then have Ayato going, "Do you know what? Fuck this shit." And he pulls out a bow and arrow.
He pulls out the Raideen reference.
Oh, is that a Raideen reference?
Well, this one is a much more stronger Raideen reference than a lot of the other things. Mainly because that's the main weapon that Raideen had, was also a bow and arrow. That was exactly that sort of way. Like the bow seemed to come out of his wrist. And he's more holding the arrow at both ends. So it doesn't seem to work like a regular bow and arrow. But there we go.
Yeah, so this is when the RahXephon goes from so OP it's really stupid to fucking hell that's OP. It's now even worse.
Where it now proceeds to straight up shoot this unreachable Dolem out of the sky.
Yeah, and also it fires its arrow, which moves so quickly, there's actually, like, sonic booms as it breaks the sound barrier.
Yep, looks very cool.
Hello, Editing Lewis here. So we get to that scene, and Ayato destroys the Dolem, and we just didn't have a good bit of dialogue in the edit for me to cut in for us to say, and then we move on to the next scene. That was really all it was. But it was way too abrupt to not have, like, some sort of connective tissue. But yeah, Ayato destroys the Dolem, and then there's another scene which we immediately start with now.
Right, should we just go from the scene with Makoto and the reporter then?
Yeah. Who are they not at the similar bar, do you think?
Yes, it is a similar bar. I couldn't say if it's definitely the same one or not, because I'd have to watch the whole thing again, looking specifically at the bars.
Because I thought, my God, there's nothing that Futagami wouldn't do. He's even having sex with Makoto. That's the thing.
Yeah, but you got to admit that Makoto would not be the seme at that point. Whereas the other way,
even though he's sexually assaulting her and being really mean, I don't even think Makoto's the seme in his relationship with Sayako.
I'm sexually assaulting you now, so pin me down, would you please, and do your thing. I'm just going to lie here passively.
Yeah. I totally believe that's what happens.
I bet you there's a dojin of them.
Oh,
that
yeah.
Easily find that out.
No, probably that's the problem. It's probably difficult to find. They almost certainly exist, but it's hard to find either in Japan. You need to get to like a really good used bookshop.
When buying pornography, always go to the used section.
Well, yeah, no, that's what you...
All right. No, yeah. Okay, anyway. So, yeah, they're having a nice conversation in this bar about how this file, this Human Specimen 1 file, has been taken out in the last 6 hours. And he's like, oh, I've never seen that before. I didn't give it to Haruka.
He's in the Japanese edit. He's really convincing. He generally doesn't. He generally sounds like he's never heard it before.
And he's just like, oh, I've never seen that before. Let me have a look at it now. Oh, look at this, Human Specimen 1. How incredibly new to me this all is. But yeah, we now get to see the files, and dun 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 dun, it was Quan.
Yeah, it was
no
Quan.
one could have seen that.
Dun,
It is,
dun,
however,
dun.
younger looking Quan.
Oh yeah, she looks a lot younger. At least, come on. I know she's been 16 for seemingly forever, but at least now.
Yeah. At that point, she did look a bit younger in 1989, but only a few years. And now, there is a question I would like to ask the person who created this file, because why have you written the word soap?
Have someone written the word soap? Have we got some random English on this file?
Yep. This file of Japanese, I didn't even notice it, because I paused at this point to make a note about how Makoto and the reporter were talking,
Bumming.
Basically. That was my note. Holly was like, soap. I was just saying, what? What's with the soap? She pointed at the screen, and yes, in the center of the document, with nothing else around it, is just the word soap.
Soap.
S-O-A-P. Soap.
Deary me.
I kind of just want to know why. It's like we were watching The World God Only Knows yesterday, and we got to the bit where it's showing a poster in a girl's room in the mirror, and it's keep clam and carry. Because it's in a mirror, it's reversed. But clearly, they've just glanced at some English posters and gone, yeah, Japanese girls totally have that in their rooms. They love to keep clam and carry.
Yeah.
See, I honestly think that could be a really weird innuendo for like for the American pro-gun movement.
What? How? Oh, carry.
Make sure you keep clam and carry.
I see what you mean.
So yeah, after looking at the soapy file, maybe it's about. No, I'm not even going to go there. She looks too young for me to make that joke in the photograph. So yeah, we then go back to talking between Kwon and Itsuki saying, I know you're going, but it's not because of the Dolem, apparently. The Dolem was there, but yeah, it basically is Itsuki saying, why do you want to leave me?
Well, before she was like, ooh, maybe I should go and have a look at being with the Moo, but now it's like, well, now I'm being told I need to go because of the Barnum Foundation. Need to go and be part of their experiments.
Not at this point, because the Barnum Foundation's not turned up, and clearly Itsuki's reports about her being not awakened or complete or whatever it is totally going to work.
Yeah.
Particularly with all the spies around. Nothing is safe. But everything will go as expected. No one will be revealing anything. But
yeah. And
yeah, we then have going back to the same food nonsense as before, where this time Haruka is putting mayonnaise on her chips.
No, on her rice.
What is with her? Is it rice?
Mayonnaise on her rice. She mentions this at the beginning of the episode when she mentions putting sugar in natto.
I thought it was
Megu,
chips and something else.
Megu also says she also puts mayonnaise in her rice. And
butter in soy. That was the other one.
Yeah,
butter in soy sauce.
Yeah. Which that's the limit of mean. I'm not sure I get that. But but what but of course in this bit she puts mayonnaise on her rice in a sad way, and Ayato and Megu says
blanked her.
Yeah. Ayato just food blanks her. I'm not doing it. It's like, oh no, do you get the message? Before they were getting closer, and now, because someone else kissed her, he's being pushed away.
Once upon a time, they were falling in love, and now they're only pouting like teenagers.
What the fuck is with the men in this show and their weird politics? Or just position on things like, someone else kissed her, so I feel bad about her. Not about the jerk that kissed her.
Yeah, it's the I licked it, so it's mine rules.
Yeah.
He's just like, I can't have her anymore.
Which is a real pity, because so many of the other relationships in this show are good or are dysfunctional, and you can tell they're dysfunctional, like in a proper way. They're not like weirdly misread in this just complete bonkers way. But then again, I guess they are pushing the level of he's a teenager, don't matter. He just sees it and he's like, oh.
The thing is,
someone else living without me. Oh,
they do have to kind of destroy his anchor to being here in a bit.
No, well, this is the thing. This is
the beginning of the end of Ayato feeling happy.
This is writing to screw around with the situation. This isn't very organic. This is just sort of he's seen her, so he's angry. But why? Doesn't that make him seem like a really shallow dick? Tough.
The thing is, you could try and give him the benefit of the doubt that he thought it was consensual, and then he's like, "Oh, the disappointment."
Yeah, but it's really hard for us to see it this way as viewers.
It really didn't look consensual.
No,
so
it didn't.
It's tough for us there. But also, it's the thing of just.
In comparison, we get now an image of a much better relationship. We have
Watari and Jin now.
Watari and Jin talking around, and he says, he's a very nice man. Then Jin sort of says, but what can we do? They're sending us these new Vermilion robots. They're made by the Foundation. And he goes, yes. Well, there's nothing we can do. Would you like a cinnamon cookie?
That's actually next episode, you realise?
Wait, no, is that next episode?
That's the next episode.
Oh, bollocks, sorry, I misremembered, because I've just got like one
talking.
line. I've just got one line. Sorry.
Yeah,
Just redo that again.
I love that scene, though. We'll do that next episode.
We'll do that. Okay.
So, yeah, we now move to a much better relationship.
Better relationship, which is Jin and Watari, and they're talking.
Yeah. They were talking about how is Ricto doing? I miss him. He's a great guy. We love him. We should go drinking sometime. And he's like, he says to tell Watari that Ayato is a very nice young man, and Watari says, I should visit. See, he doesn't actually say whether he should visit Ayato or whether he should visit Ricto. I didn't know if in the Japanese he was a bit more clear, but
he does say
he should visit. He also has a package as well.
Yes, he has a package for him.
Yeah. I mean, he's always got fucking packages for people.
And then we get a cut of Helena.
Yes, this is now just Helena, and she is bringing on her ship a big thing. Oh, yeah, no, sorry. They're talking about how a package is going to arrive within a day, and we have Helena, who we assume has said package, because she's on a giant ship, and on the giant ship, in what appears to be restraints more than a place to house a mechanical thing, is the new mech-like thing. Sort of looks like a Dolem, sort of looks like a RahXephon, but also sort of looks like the flying ships that they've been using so far. It's not really clear what it is at this point, but it's red.
Indeed, it's red, so we know who it's going to.
Oh, yeah. It's the case that no one puts the address of LV. They just paint something red and put it in the post office.
Don't even need to put it in the post office, just paint it red and punt it down the street.
They just paint it red. You could leave it on the bus. You could just put it somewhere, and someone goes, "Oh, there's a red object there. That'll be for LV."
And that's the end of episode 13.
Yes, that was the end of the episode. I liked this episode, apart from one thing, and I'm fairly certain you'll say much the same thing.
Yeah. Apart from this whole mess around with the kiss, this is a very good episode. A lot of stuff is revealed to us. It's a good little bit of information as to the greater story.
Yeah, there's a lot of little plot points here that get either stated or hinted at.
And it reveals new mysteries in a non-bullshitty way. It's sort of like, so Quan was there from the beginning, but she looks 16. How does this work?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, that does explain who that girl was in the shrine, and it also explains why this happened, but it doesn't explain that. But the thing is, just to go back to I know we've kind of covered it already, but this kiss thing, the main thing that it's a problem, right? I don't have an issue with Itsuki being a dick.
Because he is. We already know he's actually a secret dick.
Yeah,
Makoto is the open dick.
Horrible person.
Itsuki is the secret dick.
To people, particularly, he's horrible psycho. We already know he treats women kind of with a bit of contempt. Generally, even it might just be.
Well, no, he just seems to treat the women in his life quite contemptuously, or mostly Sayako. But he quite clearly just sees Haruka as like a vehicle of self-validation for himself.
Yeah, I know. He seems to just want Haruka because. Yeah, he wants her just as a goal, really. But the thing is, I don't mind that he's a dick. We've established he's a dick. It doesn't actually detract from the series he's a dick. I don't mind he drapes himself over Haruka because that's a horrible thing to do, massively invading her personal space without consent.
Yeah.
He then grabs her mouth and forces a kiss. Again, this is also not a good thing. I'm fine with it happening within the plot, and she should get really angry, but it's the bit just after that, where instead of kicking him in the balls...
Which we've seen she's capable of doing.
Yeah, she's entirely capable of defending herself. She's just a bit submissive, and I think, right, you could explain away her non-violent reaction to Itsuki because she sees Ayato, and it's not a case of Itsuki kissed me, what the fuck's wrong with him? It's more, oh god, Ayato saw, what if he misinterprets this? I can get her sort of freaking out about that and just forgetting to punch Itsuki in the balls because he's a non-entity to her. She only really cares about Ayato. But then this whole thing of Ayato, it really detracts from his character, I think.
Yeah.
That's the problem. I like Ayato's character. I think he's adult enough and he's mature enough when he needs to be, but he's still got those streaks of teenage thing to make it sort of believable.
Yeah.
He doesn't just act like a fully rounded adult. He acts a bit naive.
Yeah, if he acted sensible all the time, he would seem too good. And so there are certain bits, in the series where he gets all sad and mopey. It makes sense. But in this one, it's just kind of, come on, even a teenager wouldn't think about it like that. It just doesn't seem right. The
thing is, I know some horrible people, or I know through other horrible.
Wow, that sounded like if we were to think, look here, mate, look, Lewis, I know some horrible people.
I know some horrible people, and I will totally ring them. No, I was going to say I'm aware of an incident where a friend of mine explained to her partner about when someone assaulted her, and her partner was at the time was like, I can't even look at you now, sort of like she was tainted. So I'm fully aware that a lot of these people exist in the world.
Yeah, but they shouldn't be your main effing
horrible
characters.
Reaction. No, that's my point. The problem I have with this is it basically makes Ayato like that guy, and I don't like that guy because I think that reaction is a dick reaction. Okay, just because it's a sexual assault rather... Because that... Legitimately, that's what we're talking about. He grabs her and kisses her. Yes, it's not full-on rape, but it is a sexual assault that he commits in this episode. And Ayato's reaction to the sexual assault is to go, oh, I better distance myself from her. Oh, I don't really want her anymore, or something along those lines. And that's the bad call. It's like, the thing of, what, you were robbed? I guess I don't want to go near you now. You've been robbed. It's that. I just don't like it. I saw her kissing someone else, and rather than... accepting that she immediately pushed him off and was a bit angry about it, or that she has every right to, we weren't in a relationship, or even just talking to her, he just goes, oh, I don't want her, I don't want her to see her, and I don't want to deal with her, sort of thing. He just retracts into his fucking shell. And yes, I think the problem I have with this is largely it doesn't really work for the main character. It's not quite within his character. If you make his character include this attribute, he's a less likable character, and he's not a good main character as he was. But mostly it's because they want to start eroding his anchor here. And that'll come up a lot more in the next episode.
So they're messing around with Haruka's character just to add to Ayato's character, just to give Ayato something to overcome, which is...
I would actually disagree with the statement, because I know you don't like them to do it, but I actually would say they're not messing with Haruka's character, because they're not making her do anything out of character.
Well, I suppose so, but...
Because like I said, everything Haruka does is within the reasons of explanation. It's Ayato's character that they're messing around with, because they want...
because they're making him reach these silly conclusions,
Yeah, they're deliberately... It's like
drama.
It's like the thing in a murder mystery where the solution is obvious and they don't go for it at all.
Yeah, they don't discuss the obvious solution.
And they just don't. And then it's a case of, look, we've established the main character is clever. We've established the main character is cleverer than me and most of the audience. And me and most of the audience are saying, dude, look at that one thing. What is wrong with you? So, yeah. Anyway, so that was episode 13. So anything else you want to say about that one, Lewis?
No. Yep, that sounds pretty good.
Cool. In which case, it's time for intermission A, which is Lewis drinks heavily. Are you still drinking heavily?
Oh, you know me, Hugh. No, I decided I'm going to save one of the other flavours for the last one. This is the penultimate ramune test, and I'm going to try strawberry flavour ramune. So,
have you got it with you, or do I have to do a...
I've got it.
Oh, okay. Oh. Drum roll, then. I can't really do a drum roll.
I've already dropped the marble.
I heard.
So.
I heard the jingle jangle.
Right. Tried to drink it the wrong way around.
You failed at marble hooking, did you?
That's actually pretty nice. I thought strawberry would be kind of boring, but I just realised actually we don't have many strawberry drinks over here, do we?
Not drinks. We have strawberry flavoured stuff, but not usually drinks. It's like there's no major strawberry soft drink that you can name. You can't say Fanta-like, or like Sprite, or like Coke, or like sponsor us, please, Coca-Cola Company. We'll put more of your products in our podcasts.
No, this tastes really nice. It tastes strawberry-ish. And because, like I say, because Ramen isn't as sickly sweet as, say, similar soft drinks, which I always find weird that it's not sickly sweet. But then again, yes, this is from the country that thinks red bean paste is really sweet. So it tastes kind of more strawberryness because of that. You don't have the sweet taste.
Yeah.
So it tastes kind of a lot more like a strawberry, but you're not going to mistake this for proper juiced strawberry, if you could do that, or a strawberry smoothie or something. But yeah, this was a genuine surprise. I thought this would be pretty bad.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
What's your out of
nice,
5 verdict
fruity, then? Out of 5, I give it an easy 4 out of 5. I would not lean away from this if I found it amongst the various things.
Well, we'll have to remember that, and I believe that's the highest rating you've given any of them so far. I think 3.5 was the highest until now.
Really?
Well, I'd have to check.
Did I say 4 or 4.5?
You said 4. You could say 4.5 if you want.
No. 4. 4's fine by me, yeah.
Okay, yeah. 4 it is then. Cool. In which case we can move on to Intermission B, which, unlike normal, is going to contain both of us talking, because Hugh Plays RahXephon is now been upgraded for 1 week only to Lewis Watches Hugh Play RahXephon.
Yes, because I was round your place and I saw you play a sequence of RahXephon.
We did. We played the next bit together, and thank God we did, because we also had a friend of ours there who knew Japanese. So where we last left off, Ayato had just arrived on the ship, the Lilia Litviak, is it? Mm-hmm. Is that the one? Yes, so he's arrived on the Lilia Litviak, and we discovered that we don't really know what Katun was. We don't really know what we're doing.
I was wondering if perhaps a Katun was like some sort of stylized symbol, maybe even still. But no, when we looked at it, it was quite clearly just Katun.
It's just the word Katun, and nobody knows what that is, because it's in English.
It is in English, yeah.
We couldn't even ask our Japanese-speaking friends to translate the symbols that they were using. So, yeah, we had a bit of a wander around the Lilia Litviak and had a big conversation with Kwon about blood and hairdresser things, about veins and who has blue blood in the way that she does early on in the show, before discovering Jin on the bridge. Now, Jin has a relatively nice drawn character, but what he doesn't have is a CG model that doesn't look fucking horrible.
Yeah.
Do you remember the look of him?
Yes, he looks very odd.
He's got like these sheer faces that you could grate cheese with his face. It's just odd. I mean, it really did weird me out the whole time we were watching this. But all of the others are fine as well. He's like talking to Makoto and Soja. Everyone was there as well. At this point, everybody was on this thing. Because we didn't really understand the dialogue or anything, we just kind of skipped ahead. I kept trying to just find enough stuff to talk to people about that I got enough Katun to transfer the plot to the next point. We then had Mishima, once we got in the RahXephon, giving another tutorial. Now, as we were saying before, this is a case of Mishima having a much bigger role as well, which is quite good, because it means that there is actually a reason why you talk to her and trust her and stuff. The only downside being that she's meant to be dead at this point. Ayato thinks she was blown up, and if there's nothing supernatural about her, he doesn't start thinking there's something supernatural about her until episode bloody 14. We're just about to get to that point where he's like, I wonder if there's something supernatural about that character. But no, this is straight up. She's already been blown off his fucking arm as he comes out of Tokyo, and now he's just hearing her voice telling him how to pilot the fucking mech. I mean, seriously, if that doesn't get you going, well, maybe she's involved in some way. I don't know what will. But, yeah, she was giving instructions on what to do in the tutorial, and if you don't get them right, it just resets the tutorial. And not understanding what she was saying, I just had to keep trying to guess what she wanted me to do. So I tried shooting, running, punching, flying, dodging, jumping about, until eventually the Japanese translators informed me that what she wanted me to do was endlessly fly around the dolem and do nothing else.
Wanted you to dodge the dolem's attacks using the dash.
The second one was dodging the dolem's attacks using dash. The first one was just fly. Just fly around. And I kept going, I've been flying around and I haven't passed this tutorial. I guess I'll do something and maybe that will pass. Nope, failed the tutorial, resetting tutorial. Okay, I'll try something else then. So yeah, I'm not sure I would have finished it without help. Actually, no, I probably would have finished it without help because I'd have tried to look online again, failed, and while I had not had the game paused in the background, it would have already passed me for not doing anything.
That's probably true.
Yeah. But once we got past this, we then got to a end of tutorial bit where we were fighting giant dolem. Do you remember which one we were fighting?
I believe it was copies of the... first of all, it was copies of the dolem that gets destroyed in Tokyo Jupiter.
Yes, it was. And then afterwards, it was the one that is underwater for the most part at that bit.
It's the one from episode 4, yeah.
Yeah. The thing was, you do really get the feeling of why Ayato fights like that, because all you can do is fly around and punch the things and just keep trying to dodge the lasers. In the end, we got to the end of this and discovered that I am not as good as I think, because I ranked D for disappointment.
You did indeed rank D.
So I'm afraid Ayato Kamada, as controlled by me, is a disappointing D. There. We may play some more of that, but I'm starting to think that there isn't really much else to say about the RahXephon game.
You're not going to keep on playing?
No, I'll probably keep trying on, but I have quite a lot of stuff I'm trying to get done at the same time. So if I haven't got another report by next week, we might just skip a week or two.
Understandable.
Come back when we've actually got something in the RahXephon game that is of note. So with that, we can move on to our next installment of our main thing, which is RahXephon episode 14.
Our main thing? You mean the second episode we're going to talk about on this podcast, where we talk about RahXephon?
Yeah. Well, we've been talking about RahXephon in the interim, in the intermission sections. What I mean is, welcome back to Not Bullshit RahXephon Talk. For me, this episode is called Time After Time. And if that hasn't put a song in your head, then you need to listen to more. Is it 80s crap?
Oh, don't call it crap.
Everything from the 80s music was crap.
No, everything 80s music was amazing.
Some of it's good. What is it called for you, then?
I love the 80s. Anyway, for me, this was called
This episode
The Boy
is called
in
Lewis Loves the 80s.
The Boy in the Mirror. Kagami no Naka no Shonen.
Yeah.
So this is The Boy in the Mirror, which makes sense because this episode starts off with the most awkward stare in all of anime.
Yes.
They're just staring at each other. Ayato is looking at a mirror. Haruka is, for some reason, putting a sunflower in a glass of water on a windsill in the corridor just outside the room Ayato is in. So Ayato looks at her through the mirror, and Haruka looks at Ayato through the mirror. Yeah. And they just look at each other, and the camera cuts from several different angles, from the point of view of Ayato, the mirror, from the point in the corridor, and it's just, what the fuck? And then
this is so tense for no reason.
Oh no, because it then fucks off.
No, yeah, she's then just like, I can't keep up with the staring contest. I'm just going to leave. And she just leaves. At which point Ayato then stares at the empty corridor for a minute or so.
Indeed.
It was just odd. The whole thing's very silent. I think it's mostly just to remind you about the silent, distant nature of Ayato's relationship currently. Yeah, we now go to some characters who aren't staring at each other in an angry way.
Indeed, now we get Helena, who gets to join in the time-honoured tradition at Terra, which is ogling Quan while she's undergoing medical treatment.
Yes, Sayaka and Itsuki, part of the professional Quan oglers, are also here. Helena opens with, "So, Itsuki, you've been sending us a lot of reports that she hasn't awakened in any way, and we don't need to take your sister off to some creepy lab." And Itsuki says, "Yes, that is absolutely the case, and nothing will ever disprove that." At which point Helena goes, No. See, I've got this USB that was given to me that seems to say that that's complete bollocks, and you never were good at lying, which, of course, seems to imply that they have a lot of history together as well, or at least that they've previously interacted a fair bit.
Yeah.
At which point, Sayako does the most ridiculously stupid thing you can do here.
Yeah, Sayako just straight up says, "Oh, they totally told me they wouldn't use it like that." Because this is the same disc that Sayako gave Makoto in the last episode.
So, Yeah, she says, instead of just being silent or him going, oh, how did you get that? Or, whatever, she just goes, oh, it looks like Itsuki wants to be really angry at someone. I did it! He promised me that he'd do it.
That's not really, I don't think that's what... She just straight up says. She feels betrayed because it's used in a way that Makoto apparently said wouldn't be used, but still was. And they're like, oh no!
Yeah, she says, oh, he said that he wouldn't do that. He said he was going to give it to, and then just doesn't say anything. Now, I wonder who the hell that is that she was told he was going to give it to, because I couldn't work out who she would give it to that would help Itsuki, because she then says, I was trying to do this for your sake. Now, seriously, who's the guy that Makoto would give that document to that would help Itsuki?
Yeah, there ain't no one.
Itsuki's choosing to cover it up. I mean, Makoto goes, I will give it to the Fairy King. The Fairy King demands evidence.
Well, that's interesting.
Will then protect her.
Did she not say where it was going to? Because in the Japanese one, the subtitles indicated that she says, he said he'd only send it to the Foundation. Or something like that.
Well, that's odd, because he did send it to the Foundation. Helena's from the Foundation. It's the Federation, I think.
Oh, no, yeah, sorry, she said Federation. I misread the subtitles and typed it down wrong. Sorry, yeah. He said, he'd only send it to the Federation, and then...
But the Federation owns the Foundation owns the bloody F words. The Foundation owns the Federation.
Yeah.
Which means that telling the Federation is basically the same thing anyway.
Yeah, but most people don't know that.
No, well, that's a fair point, yeah. So Sayaka then just reveals outright she's the one who betrayed him and said, I was doing this for your sake. He says, my sake? Don't you mean your sake? Oh, snap!
I tell you something, the subtitles were even in italics. The your was in italics. Don't you mean your sake?
Your sake.
Which, like, my God, Sayako, for a second, I wasn't up for her sticking through being abused by Makoto, but now this is getting even weirder. She's like straight up sabotaging herself when she could have just said nothing and got away with that. Because I don't think she even registers in Helena's vision.
No,
she wouldn't think to point her out.
She doesn't register in anyone's vision, really. I mean, Itsuki only vaguely pays attention, and he's, the person she works for, ostensibly.
Mm-hmm.
We then have her asking where Makoto actually is, and then we cut to Kwon, who is getting a blood test drawn. She has blue blood. It's blue blood! It's blue blood! Oh, that thing that we totally fucking knew from the beginning. Yeah. Like, seriously, the moment you meet her on the Lilia Lit Viag, I bet everyone just goes, yeah, I bet that bitch has blue blood.
Yeah. Yeah, no one's going to assume that Kwon wasn't going to turn out to be a Mulian. That's just...
Yeah.
It seems that in order to do almost anything, you kind of sadly need to be a Mulian.
Yeah.
Any of the sort of weird stuff.
So we have Kwon having blue blood, and then we cut to Haruka and the reporter who, after telling him previously that she totally didn't want to work with him at all, and then him providing more information than she could ever have come up with in her entire career as a spy in one sitting, went, you know what, I think we should actually totally work together. I think we'd work well together. Why not work for me, please?
He's getting info from him.
Yeah, he's...
Well, by the way, we still don't know his true alliances for Togami, although we've got a few hints. We had a few hints in the Jin episode, but at the moment we're still unsure about... He clearly isn't a regular old reporter, but at the same time we're not sure exactly who he is.
Well, yeah, the Jin one said, I could get you a job where I work. Oh, you mean... No, I mean the Foundation. So it's sort of vaguely implied he works for the Foundation, but... Yeah, it's not really...
Which is weird, though, because if he's working the Foundation, why does he seem so opposed and being different to Makoto, then?
Or the Federation. I can't remember. Bloody F words are getting mixed up in my head again.
I think he said the Federation.
I think he said Federation, yeah. But anyway, so Haruka's saying, I don't know much about Kwon's past, or anything, really, but the Foundation is taking over her care. Now that we're working together, why don't you tell me something... about me? And she doesn't ask. He basically says, how about I tell you what your uncle did before he retired? And she says, what? He did something before retiring? I thought he was born a retired archaeologist. Yeah, she then says, your uncle had a daughter who left home at 17. You wouldn't know because you weren't even around then, and he doesn't like to talk about her. It's like, so he had a daughter, but he was never married. No. He wasn't married, but somehow he acquired a daughter. That's the actual dialogue.
Yeah.
He wasn't married, but somehow he acquired a daughter. Now, I have a couple of unmarried friends, and they have somehow acquired a daughter, and I have a vague inkling as to how that came to be. And it shouldn't confuse someone in either of their positions.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't quite know where that line came from. Then it's like, so he had a daughter. That's interesting-ish, because that means that Haruka had a cousin. What does that actually mean, really, to anything? Well, your uncle's daughter went to Tokyo and after she left home at 17, and she married a man. That man's name was... what did it mean? Like,
Kamina.
You know what... Yeah, I know
oh,
what
yeah,
you know.
it meant, sorry, the voice of gods. It's spelled
Yeah,
like
he
voice
went
of
voice.
God.
Means the voice of gods.
If we're going
Kamina!
we're going to mention this, let's actually break that down. Because I think I used to do this with a few of the other characters, but I didn't.
Kami is God, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah, Kami is deity. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird always, that whole idea of specifically how to translate the character Kami. But yeah, might as well say God.
So
God. His name Kami, written with God, and
I'm fairly sure in a previous episode you've talked about his characters being Kami and God.
The name of God.
The name of God. So anyway, it's basically gone dun 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 Kamina, which she married someone called Kamina. Now this means I had to pause it because Holly then wanted to go, you mean they're related? So I then had to show her the family tree that I quickly drew, because unless we are to expect that Ritsuko's daughter married someone other than Ayato's father, it's Maya. Really,
Yeah.
it's Maya Kamina that is Ritsuko's daughter, which, to be fair, is a fucking huge reveal.
Yeah, it's a huge reveal and very nicely done, I think.
I think so.
You suddenly go, and it lets you. It kind of straight out tells you, but at the same time, you have to put enough pieces in the way that yourself that you feel kind of smart figuring it out. Which I think is like the ideal way to reveal stuff to an audience.
Exactly.
Make them think that they're actually doing work. They're really not. You're telling them. But because they sort of... It's like when you give a baby a puzzle with 4 pieces and they put it together and they seem really happy and you go, yeah, you did well.
You did really well. Good baby.
Well, no, it's
bad
to think you're not treating your audience like a baby, but I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying it's good because...
No, I agree. It's really
because they have
good.
to put the mental effort into it. It feels so much more rewarding.
Rather than just being told... If he just said...
that woman's name was
Maya, and she married a man named Kamina, and then later they had a child named Ayato. Dun, dun, dun. If he just outright said all that, it would have been a thing. But no, let's just take a moment here to look back at what that means. So that one means that if we draw this little family tree that I did on my notes here, which means that Ritsuko's sister, I think it's sister anyway, it seems to be implied, is the mother of Haruka and Megami.
Yeah.
And then his daughter is Maya. And
no relation. He adopted her.
That hasn't been said yet.
Well, no, come on. If it's Maya...
It hasn't been said yet. No, all right, fine. You can leave it in, because, acquired a daughter is basically, I think...
saying adoption.
The reason they're saying that is the adoption thing. But no, it basically... If you just take it without the whole knowing she's adopted thing, then Ayato, their child, because she obviously married some mysterious guy who we don't know yet, called Kamina, who's the father of Ayato. That means that... See, Haruka and Maya are cousins, which means Ayato is that a second cousin or a cousin once removed?
Oh, goodness me. No, the child of your cousin, I know this because I have some, are your first cousins once removed. Okay,
so this is, Ayato and Haruka are a first cousin once removed relationship, at which point Holly was like, but that means they're related, you can't root for them. I went, well, it's Japan, so we could root for them if they were cousins, but first cousins once removed is not a thing, realistically. Even in genetics and in UK law or anything, it's not going to be a thing that anyone even cares or notices.
The only reason why people would care is arguably your average ages would be too different. But in this case...
They're not. They are, in fact, virtually identical, because I think the younger sister had the children late, and Maya must have had Ayato pretty fucking quickly after running away at 17. To sort of get the ages to sync up. But no, it syncs up perfectly.
Poor random Mr. Kamina man. I've met this girl. She's kind of cold, but she's kind of interesting. I'm pregnant. How the hell did that happen?
You were asleep. I was bored.
You were asleep. I was bored. I poked all the holes and everything. Picked some sort of excuse. I don't care.
I decided we were having a child, and so we are.
I can totally see Maya doing that, by the way. I decided on it. It happened.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, she might have had a more fun, youthful childhood, but she left home at 17 in a sort of way that they never wanted to speak again, sort of thing. So, yeah, I don't know. But no, we don't really know yet that they left on bad terms. We don't really know that she's adopted. We're just sort of getting that because of the implication from the dialogue. They'll probably talk about that more later. But no, we've got this nice thing. Anyway, the reason I was going to say, though, that that's a big thing is that, one, this now is like why Ayato was sent there by all the people at Terra. They go, well, let's put him with his family. Let's not tell him it's his family. But really, they did send him to his grandfather to be looked after.
They did indeed.
They immediately sent his grandfather. And his grandfather said, I want you to think of this as your home, and I want you to think of us as your family, and all this. His grandfather basically, if you go back to that scene, he does pretty much outright say, I'm your family, pay attention, I'm your family, hint, hint, I'm family. And Ayato's just there like, I've never really had a family. I'm so on my own problems, I'm not even thinking about what you're talking about. So, yeah, I really like it. It's a nice explanation about a lot of actions here once you find that out. And I don't think it's something that was particularly obvious either. I think that's a nice reveal as well. Anyway, anything you want to say on that before we move past?
Oh, no, that's pretty much everything.
Yeah, I think I've said more on that than needed. But okay, so we then have the last bit of dialogue there is... I think it's time to ask yourself, what did your uncle do before he was a retired archaeologist? We then managed to look at the vermilion testing, where I'm not going to go through who's there because pretty much everyone's there. But one thing I did love about this scene is while the vermilion's flying, all the main characters are going, impressive, it's really impressive, oh, look at that, that's powerful, oh, that's really nice. And the actual flight crew, the people who do the work...
who actually have to work on the vermilion are like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, they actually say, that is just going to be a bitch to service. Yeah. I'm never going to remember the manual for this thing. Have you seen the size of it?
This is then topped. I think I might be getting this out of order, but this is within like the same...
It's the same-ish scene.
It's the same-ish scene, or sequence. The vermilion then sort of practices out its big electrical wave gun.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It blows up a whole island.
Yeah, it's
a deserted
island.
But it's a small deserted island, but it blows up a whole island. And
it's got plants on it.
It's got plants. It
probably had wildlife.
Probably did have wildlife. Okay, so it probably had like animal life on it.
Yeah, and
I would say deserted means without humans.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So it blows this up, which one I'm like, whoa, that's a bit intense because it's not like islands are useless.
A fucking island.
Yeah. And then Major Yagumo just straight up said, oh god, the environmentalists would faint if they saw this.
No, he says when they see the video, the environmentalists are going to freak.
Yeah.
In the English.
Is that what he says in the English one? Oh.
Yeah, it's just like when they see this video.
Too right, that was needlessly destructive.
I know. Why not fire it in the middle of the ocean? Are you afraid of Godzilla creation? Is that why?
Is that why? Are you afraid of Godzilla?
No, we can't fire at the sea. The radiation might turn some sort of sea lizard into Godzilla. Yeah, so Yagumo is basically concerned about the environmentalists. Everyone else says it's really good and really impressive. Jin has some reservations because he says to Watari, oh, I'm not too sure about having this. And Watari goes, it's a gift that we're having to use. We've not really got much of a choice. And he goes, but it's... I'm going to interrupt you there in a really intense way to say, don't say what it is. The audience don't need to know that. And then he continues with his super fucking serious tone. And what does he say, Lewis? In the most serious, tense manner you have ever found in this show, he says...
Do you want a cinnamon cookie?
So good. It's really awesome. I think this is I love Watari as a character. I find him absolutely hilarious whenever he's on the screen.
Favourite characters, yeah.
He's absolute genius because he's not in it often, but when he is, he's just there. He flicks between serious and not so quickly. Like I think the first scene you see him in is just the one of him going, "Hey, I'm back now. Oh, I missed you so much while I was away. I've got you all this thing to say sorry about all the extra work you had to do."
Yeah, he's so sweet.
Good. He's awesome. He's really, really good. Anyway.
I bet everyone's really sad that despite being probably at the top of the org chart, he's never around, and you have to end up working under Kunugi and Yagumo the whole time.
I wouldn't mind working under Yagumo, but no, if you're thinking, like, the thing at work of, I don't know if you get this, but if you have two managers at work, which I have had before, you do tend to wait to put in things like holiday requests to one of them and not the other.
Oh,
the
yeah,
one
yeah.
you know is going to be nicer about it. And I can just see, like, Watari, he turns up and he's there for like a day, and suddenly everyone's like, "Oh, could you please approve my leave? I actually need some time off for maternity. Oh, I need this. Could you maybe just everyone's there for like HR reasons. It's just like, I didn't want to go to the commander. I'm pretty sure he'd say, "Why do you need family? Family is a waste. They'll only leave you or die."
Jesus.
Break me, Quan, I need violin music now.
Oh, dear me.
So yeah, after
Cinnamon cookie.
the flight and the cinnamon cookie,
The Vermilion docks on the most... sadly, the Vermilion, I think, looks really cool. I think it looks like a combination of the Zone of the Enders robot.
for this part of it, I'm going to see. I'll try and put a picture of the Vermilion up because I think it is worth seeing this one.
But the thing is, it just looks like the worst docking thing ever. It has to clip its little wings that are on its waist into these two giant struts that just protrude like AA guns from a circular platform. And you're just like, that looks like it could just fall off. I like the restraining bolts that sort of go in, but that's part and parcel of it. But it's just held on by like these pointy things. It's like it's a USB plug. Sort of thing. We've got to charge it now. Clip.
Clip. Yeah. See, the thing is, I think the best thing about the upgrade to the Vermilion compared to the previous flight things is that the previous flight things fire with the noise of the rocket launcher from GoldenEye.
Yeah.
So whenever there is a fight involving them, all I can imagine is that all of these actually just have agents from MI5 on it with rocket launchers like... As they fly around, there's this like mini little James Bond with rocket launchers firing. Alpha Squad is unsurprisingly fucking psyched about the whole Vermilion turning
We can be useful.
Whereas Helena is actually just more interested in where the hell Ayato is for this point, and sends the Major out to look for him. When the Major encounters Alpha Squad, see, now, Alpha Squad, super positive about the whole thing. Major, bit of a downer here. The Major's like,
Yeah,
why do we
Major's a bit
even
of a
need this?
Negative Nancy on it.
However, this is one thing I think Elvie is a good boss and a good person at this point, because what Elvie does is she stays positive in front of all of her team and is like, "Hey, can I talk to you over there, Commander?" in a really positive way. And the minute they get outside, she's like, "What the fuck do you mean? What do you mean? We don't need this. Don't do that in front of my men." And he's like, "Well, this is again harks back to his previous comments in the last episode of, we are a research organization prioritizing defense."
Yeah,
That's
and people
an
did
offensive
say
weapon.
that the Vermilion can penetrate Tokyo Jupiter,
Yeah.
and that with a lot of them, they could
The goal-
invade.
Yeah, the goal was, they said, with 100 of these, we could take out Tokyo Jupiter. And this is also what I really like Yagamo's character, because Soichi Yagamo here, the Major, he does say, we shouldn't be attacking. That's an aggressive thing. We only need the RahXephon for defense, and that's all we need. And she says, no, what about all of these people who were killed by the Mulians? All of my squad died. Do you not think we should have some way of defending ourselves? He's like, you got to remember that in Operation Overlord, all of these civilians died, and I was against it from the beginning because that was an aggressive operation. She's like, yeah, it was aggressive, and who cares about all the civilians that died? They were just Mulians.
Yeah,
Now-
that got a bit dark. I forgot about that
It's like-
bit last time.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, she really hates Mulians, understandably, because she
In
blames
that
them for
operation,
death.
her entire squad was wiped out.
Yeah.
And the Mulians did kill them all. But the thing was, he then says, so what, Ayato's less of a person than you are then? Saying,
Yes, he's
he's a
straight.
Mulian.
Yeah.
Now, she freaks the fuck out about this. She's like,
Yeah, 'cause
what?
LV didn't
What?
know.
Do you mean he's a Mulian? And yeah, she didn't know. It's like, did everybody know? No, and you better just forget I said that. Da-da-da-da-da.
Too late.
Too late. But can I just say one thing? Why is LV surprised at this? Because, yes, I agree.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
piloting a giant Mulian vessel that's
No.
mysteriously magic.
That's not the thing I'm making here.
Oh,
Because
really?
the point I'm making here is right. So, yes, saying Ayato's a Mulian. Now, if LV has either one of two thoughts in her head. Firstly, she either thinks that the higher-ups in the Tokyo Jupiter are Mulians, and all the other people are civilians, at which point, when Yagamo says, you killed a lot of civilians, she says they're just Mulians. That thought train doesn't really work then. But Ayato came out of Tokyo Jupiter. She knows he came out of Tokyo Jupiter. It's been said, because they had that whole conversation when she assaulted Haruka, saying, did we do this just so you could get one boy out of Tokyo Jupiter? Now, she knew Ayato came from there, so either she thinks that civilians in Tokyo Jupiter are normal humans, at which point she should feel bad about all the fucking civvy casualties, or she thinks that everyone from Tokyo Jupiter is a Mulian, so the civilian casualties are okay, but then why is she surprised that Ayato is? Did she think that Haruka went in there and went, moo, 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 moo. One person that's not a Mulian, let's bring him out.
Maybe
he's the only one. Go nuts.
Maybe because she wasn't told all the details of the operation, and Haruka was sent in just to get Ayato. Maybe she thought Ayato was a prisoner.
Possible.
That's the only thing. But this is the sort of thinking that in a good story we shouldn't have to sit around thinking. So I think they kind of misstepped there.
This is the thing.
Elvie isn't that big a character, so I can understand why they focus on her.
The thing is, though, I do think, unless you're looking at it like that, it doesn't seem like a plot hole at first, because it really is just a case of, I did just go, I'm sorry, either you care about the civvy casualties or you don't. You can't have it both ways, where you like Ayato because he's human, and the civvies in Tokyo Jupiter aren't.
Didn't count,
That doesn't work.
Yeah, that
can't have that.
You're sort of ignoring some obvious things there.
The only way you can explain it, in my mind, that doesn't make it bad about her character is PTSD or similar. She doesn't want to think about it, so she hasn't been. Because, if your entire squad was killed in an operation in which you also killed a lot of civilians, you might not want to be dwelling on that.
Yeah, that might be it. Doesn't want
That's
to think
the only way. Anyway, so Ayato
it's
is
sadly
practicing...
never really looked at, I think.
No.
And the one sad thing is we brought up this thing of her being kind of perhaps, most likely not deliberately, without her knowledge, being kind of a hypocrite. And of course, in this very same argument, she straight up calls Yagumo a hypocrite.
Yes, she does. She says, you didn't want Operation Overlord to go through with it. Did you actually, try and stop it, or did you just bite your tongue and be a good little soldier? Because if you did, and all my men died, you're a fucking hypocrite.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I don't actually see why that makes him a hypocrite. I think she needs to look up the definition of hypocrite, really, because him disagreeing and not wanting to go along with things, but
still going along with things.
But the thing was, he didn't resign. I mean, he could have made a formal protest. You don't really ever get known. He could have told the Commander Jin, I don't really think this is an appropriate mission. And Jin says, it's happening. And he goes, all right, well, I guess we better join in, because it's like that thing of, if you get told that this is going to happen, you can either resign out of protest and it happens anyway, or you can try to go with it and do what you can to stop it being as bad as it could be.
It's a difficult ruling. There are some people who would certainly say that's hypocrisy, and there are other people who would say, no, that's having to make the best of a bad situation.
Well,
I really didn't like... Go on.
I don't think she calls him a hypocrite legitimately. I don't think he's being a hypocrite there.
Well, I don't like this argument in general, so I don't like to think about whether or not they're either correct. I think both are kind of being very stupid here.
But this is when Ayato discovers that he's been leveling up this skill a lot, and as such, it's reached passive levels of, he has now gained the ability to walk in at the worst possible moment of any conversation.
Indeed, he overhears this and goes even more teen than last episode.
I know. This is basically a case of, so last episode, my anchor, which was Haruka, I've distanced myself from her now because of that thing that I walked in on. And now I'm going to distance myself immediately from Elvie, who he really gets on with, and the Major, who he really gets on with. So that leaves him basically with Megami, Quan, Itsuki. Itsuki, no, I suppose he's still got a few, but I'm not sure you can count Itsuki. But certainly Quan doesn't really count because she's, as weird as he is. Can't really count her as an anchor. But and Megami, I'm not sure Megami could anchor.
This isn't an anchor. This is an inflatable seahorse.
Yes, but here is 7 bullshit haikus about why a seahorse is relevant to this conversation. So, anyway, the whole thing here is Ayato walks in and has a bit of a run away to have a freak out, and the Major runs after him and finally finds him, after apparently looking for ages, at a fountain.
I wrote this down. He finds him by the brooding fountain.
Yes. Why he didn't look there in the first place for the 17-year-old who's planning to have a pout is a different question. Talking to the Major, and the Major's just like, this is kind of my fault. that I can't beat some sense into you. This is the thing. The Major's just like, you're being a fucking idiot.
Yeah, like
And
it
Ayato
matters.
goes-
Like it matters that you're Amulian. And he's like, no, you're all laughing at me behind my back. That makes no sense.
No. The thing is, Ayato's dialogue here really doesn't make any sense. He's just like, I feel betrayed, so I'm lashing out at you. Which, again, I do know people in real life who's like that. I do think it's a legitimate thing that people will do.
This, I think, is a legitimate action for Ayato. Do you not? Is that what you
I think it's a legitimate action for Ayato, but again, it's getting me to the point of me going, oh, sometimes he annoys me. Because I really like him as a protagonist, but when he does shit like this, I'm just like, oh.
Sometimes people are annoying. I don't mind this one this much, because it doesn't seem quite so against it, because he's foreign, he has like very few things to attach him to this place, and he needs to feel valuable, otherwise he just feels like he's just been yanked out of his life and made to be worthless for no good reason.
But the thing is, he basically is saying, I'm Amulian, you all know, you all been laughing at me. And again, I really respect the Major for all these sort of dialogues, because the Major's just like, it doesn't matter, you are a person.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether you're Amulian, whether you were from Tokyo, whether you have the Mu phase, or whether you don't. You're a person, and that's the main thing here.
Mm-hmm.
And don't listen to anyone who tells you otherwise. So, yeah, I like the Major here. I think it's really good here.
Cool.
Yeah, Ayato then accuses him of everyone laughing. You're only saying things like this because I'm controlling the RahXephon for you. Ayato then goes, it's the only thing I do anyway, so I suppose I can pilot the RahXephon. And the Major, because the Major knows that when it wasn't really feeling it, the RahXephon was turning to stone, that Ayato in his current mindset is going to do more harm than good in the RahXephon, and just straight up says it. Just like,
don't.
You really think that in your current condition you can pilot? Stay the fuck here. Don't go out there. That's a terrible idea. And heads off. He gets back to the control room, at which point he and Jin have a look of Ayato, and he just shakes his head. Which, is fine, really, because they have this nice new vermilion. Now, this Dolem is actually two Dolems. One sort of pink, one sort of blue, and they fly around together.
Indeed.
Because,
Sorry.
To be fair, we didn't even mention... And then a Dolem's turned up.
Oh, sorry, yes, I thought you had said it at some point, and I'd maybe missed it.
I felt like I said it, but I don't think I did. So,
yes,
yeah.
During the end of this, a Dolem turns up.
A Dolem turns up, and Ayato's like, I better go and fight it then, it's the only thing I can do. These two are actually called Alternate, and are what?
Which, again, in terms of music, in case you didn't know, literally means...
It means to flick between one and another.
Yeah.
These two fly around together, but they do detach and can move around separately. Now, at this point, the Vermilion is the only thing attacking them. And finally, it got to a part that wasn't particularly intensive to take notes down because it is largely just a Vermilion flying around and shooting at them.
Yep.
LV also has a bit of a monologue here about, I only got this bloody thing so I could help Ayato and he wouldn't have to pilot anymore. But he's a Mulian, so my racism.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Her fantasy racism is now making her regret her decisions. I think this is the downside for this episode for me is that it makes LV seem like a real jerk.
It does, because in this context you're having her like have a bit of but really a real life version of this is like a white supremacist being mates with someone, and then he finds out like his grandfather was black, and he's like, oh, but I really like him, but he's black. Yeah. And you kind of think, oh, just these thoughts you're having kind of make you go, really, LV?
Yeah. Both you and I really aren't the sort of people who can strongly empathise with these sorts of feelings, can we? It's really hard for us to sort of, I mean, I can totally... No, I can't understand. Sorry, Elvie, you've lost us.
Sorry. Yeah, people are people. It's like that thing of, like, when people go, we're just trying to defend Christian values. That's why gays can't get married. And you and I just look at each other and go, I can't even understand your argument.
Yeah.
So,
just doesn't work.
If it hasn't come across, Lewis and I are the sort of people who will pretty much let anyone have the beliefs or actions they want, regardless of anything, as long as they don't hurt or inconvenience other people. Mm. So, yeah, there isn't really anything racist or sexist or...
Almost, but not quite. Thinking of the Americans, let's say almost, but not quite, but entirely unlike libertarians. That's why I've decided to... Because I realise... Because I generally do agree with a lot of the nice things that libertarians say, but then they say other things
like libertarians.
But then they say other things like tax is theft, and I'm like, So I do have to say, sort of almost, but not quite, entirely unlike a libertarian.
No, that is true. And also a Hitchhiker's quote. And I'm always in favour of more Hitchhiker's quotes.
Exactly. So yes, but so this of course makes me sad that LV, one of my favourite characters, kind of loses it. Is like, nope, don't like him now that he's a Mulian. Boo.
I know. It's like he hasn't. Yeah. Again, we could go on like this for a while. Like he hasn't changed. It's only your perception of him that's changed. And the thing is, this is kind of her sort of I better stop being a racist arc. But I can't honestly remember whether it actually goes anywhere or not. Whether she stops being a big old Mulian hater or doesn't.
Indeed. Well, hopefully we shall see. It's good that we
We'll
don't
find
remember.
out.
We'll be surprised nicely in future episodes.
Or depressed again.
Or depressed
it's
again in further episodes. Yeah. One or the other.
Is it racist? Is it speciesist?
I always call it sort of fantasy racism. It's not like real racism. Because it doesn't actually have like the societal effect that we have in actual racism. But it's still not nice to see in your fiction happening to your favourite characters.
No.
So it's a nasty thing, but it doesn't have the punch of like genuine racism.
Luckily, my favourite character still wants to bang Ayato regardless.
Oh yes.
My favourite is certainly not a big old racist.
She's certainly not. She's all for it.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, we could have multicoloured blood children together.
I've just realised then, would she have like the slur, "Oh, you purple-blooded children"?
Oh God, yeah, you really would get that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you would.
Oh Christ. So I'm now thinking of the huge protests that those American churches would do with the big signs, "Jesus hates purple blood."
You get some support from the South American Christians, who I'm sure will like it.
Tangenting over, we get back to them having a fight, and LV decides to lure the Dolem to the abandoned ruins. This is when Ayato thinks, do you know what I could really do with a montage recap of my time at this point in the series? And
quick montage. It's not that long.
No, it's just a quick thing, but he says, he then goes, you know what? I've rewatched all the previous episodes in my head, and I've come to a conclusion. Why am I here? I'm here. Why do I pilot? I pilot because I can pilot, because I'm here, and because it's who I am. I quite like that, except he is then kind of putting almost all his self-esteem in this one basket. So,
that's not going to backfire in 10 minutes.
No, that's not. That's not going to be at all backfirey when they're trying to replace you with giant robots. It's like, I'm going to put all of my self-esteem, my ability to pilot this giant robot, on the very day they're showing me they're replacing me by some mass-produced giant robots. Anyway, so Ayato then decides to go get in the RahXephon. The Major is still kind of against it, but Helena's like, hey, I'd like to see a test where both of them take part, get a lot more data. During all this battle, Itsuki and Makoto are having a big conversation. Now, the actual scene keeps flicking between LV and Ayato fighting and Itsuki and Makoto. Now, as we've done previously, we're going to just look at one scene and then the other. But unlike this, there is a bit of interlink halfway through. So, first of all, we have Itsuki and Makoto. Now, they're talking about whether or not they've seen her, of course being Helena, and Itsuki says, yes, I have seen her, you're going to have to as well. And he says, Makoto kind of resigns himself that he's going to have to see her in that case. But we get much again the fact that these three definitely have a past together. There was all that implication about knowing each other well a lot previously that they had in their weird canal midnight ride, and that sort of thing's coming around again. But Makoto then basically just tries to justify it. He says, you have to understand why I did it, referring of course to giving the USB to Helena in order to get rid of Quan. He says, you're going to have to be alone eventually. I just expedited matters. You'll get used to being alone. And Itsuki says, I don't even want to try and understand you. At which point Makoto's like, you're so cold. Because he's always saying that.
Yeah, he's always saying that.
He is. And to be fair, he is always so fucking cold. So, we then have them saying, Itsuki's like, you want to unlock a new world with Quan as the key because you are a don't say it. Yeah. We have yet another Watari moment of just going, don't you fucking say that. And this is Makoto, the character who up until now has been really smooth. Nothing has ever riled him. Nothing has ever elicited any emotion. And his face here is like, you say it, I'll fucking kill you. Whatever the hell that Itsuki was about to say, because you are that is the line you do not cross with Makoto.
It seems that way.
Because Makoto he says, don't say it, yells at him, throws his drink in his face and says, don't you dare say it.
Yeah. There's drinks that they've barely taken any of. It was weird.
Yeah.
It was so long of seeing them look like they were about to drink for so long, and they're like, let's keep talking. No. And I'm like, drink it.
No, I'm keeping my drink back in case you think of saying it. I need some ammo. So, yeah, that's their scene. So they're having a thing, and also having Makoto finally show a bit of emotion. But while that's going on, we have the Vermilion and the RahXephon trying to fight the Dolem, and aren't in sync. Normally, when we've seen them fighting with the normal ships, they're all like, you go over here, we'll synchronize, we'll be working together. In this, they're banging into one another, they're yelling, they're getting really angry at each other. And at this point, the Dolems then decide to put up a barrier. So it's like sunset at the time in this place, but the Dolems basically turn up, one on each side of them, and start creating a sphere with them in the middle of blue skies and clouds. Elvi kind of freaks out at this and just starts machine gunning into the clouds.
But then as if they were travelling around a small sphere in space,
Yes.
or like are travelling through a wormhole, they come back from the other direction.
And just hit her, because no matter which way you fire in a sphere, if you fire in any direction, then you don't move, it's going to hit you directly in the back. That's how spheres work when they're coming in from the other side. But they then
You got a bit of mathematics into our podcast there. Good guy.
Yeah! But then they have they're also having a talk while this, and he's saying, Elvi outright says, "You're a Mulian. I could never trust you."
Yeah, says that, and he's all like,
That cuts deep. I mean,
that
seriously,
does, yeah.
To be fair, that legitimately cuts deep. I mean, that's a horrible thing to say to someone. I could never trust you because of who you are. Just not anything you've done, not what you're like, not your actions, because of who you are innately.
Exactly, because I mean, Hugh, I trust you with a lot of things. But
Yes.
my open Facebook page, no. Because I've seen what you've done with your other friends' open Facebook pages.
I can't defend myself. Shit. I was just about to try and defend myself.
But yeah, this is the thing. It's not because of... But
No.
I don't begrudge you for
One,
that.
is it because of that one time when a friend of mine posted on his Facebook wall, totally he posted it, I didn't post this, of, I'm not saying Hitler was right, I'm just saying he had a few ideas that seem reasonable.
Is that what you put on his page?
I put that on his wall, and everyone couldn't work out if it was a frape or if it was legitimately him posting something.
Oh, dearie me. Yes, that's
why you'd never trust me with your Facebook page, is it?
But I hope you don't take it as a slur on you as a person.
No. I don't think it's a particular slur right now.
Yeah.
So-
But I don't begrudge it because of who you are. I'm not saying I don't trust Northerners with my.
I don't trust Northerners or white people or men or people in their late 20s or whatever the hell else. I don't trust accountants. You can't let them near your Facebook page.
Yeah, no, it's just I happen to have seen you do stuff with other people's Facebook pages.
Your actions in the past have led me to believe that you are not to be trusted with. It's a case of if every time I left the room you ate my chips.
Yeah, you ain't going to trust that person with their chips.
I'm not going to go. It's like I'm going to take my chips to the toilet with me. It may be really weird, but I just don't trust you alone with my chips, man.
But Elvi is not saying that.
No, Elvi just is not saying that. Elvi is saying,
despite the fact that he's been really trustworthy and helpful before.
In every way, he has never once given her a doubt. But just by being Mulian, I don't trust you.
Which is very sad.
Yeah, so she then just keeps firing randomly, proving that Elvi has no real tactical sense and just freaks the fuck out.
Yeah.
While Ayate goes, no, you're gonna keep hitting yourself if you keep doing that. Stop. And Ichli then turns up and goes, oh, you're having a problem with the Dolem? This is where I come in.
Yeah.
I can always help when you have a problem with the Dolem. Now, step 1, lose all control of the RahXephon. Wait, what? Step 2, aim your bow and arrow directly in Elvy's face. Wait, what was step 2? Why is step 1 and 2 like this?
Indeed.
Step 3, fire your bow and arrow directly at Elvy's face.
And it does, and it ricochets off her head and hits
the exact point in the surrounding barrier that is the weak spot and blows up the Dolem.
Yeah.
However,
Elvy, of course,
Elvy doesn't really get over the fact that he shot her in the face.
Indeed.
I think legitimately as well. And he goes, "It wasn't me." And then what? So it was the supernatural girl that sometimes controls you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes you more trustworthy.
Stop
totally
there for just
go
1
with
second.
that. They then just have a bit of a face-off where Elvy goes, "You shot me in the face," and points her cannon. This is the island-destructing cannon as well.
Yeah, the island-destructing cannon.
And powers this up, pointing it directly at Ayato, at which point Ayato goes, "Well, I guess I better put my bow up," because it worked so well the first time. But yeah, so then they just stare at each other. I mean, it's this horrible Mexican standoff in the middle of the air with death weapons, at which point it looks like the RahXephon goes, wait, Ayato, I have a better idea. How about if I open my eyes and use this new ability I've got?
Which is
where
rewind time.
No, it's a huge explosion occurs right in the middle of them, and rewind time 15 minutes, proving once again the RahXephon is the most overpowered shit in the universe. It's a case of, what's that? I made a slightly bad decision. Rewind time 15 minutes.
It's also the Prince of Persia.
Yes, exactly. It's like, I would love that if we just got to see Ayato's mission report at the end. It's like, and then Ayato, and then I shot Elvy in the face and she died horribly. Wait, no, that didn't happen. And then I got hit by that island destroying machine and I died in agony. Half of me was blown away. No, wait, that didn't happen. No. Yeah. So then he rewinds time to before he arrived, basically. We get the sense of this because we then cut back to Makoto and Itsuki on the line of, "I did it for your own good. You'd have to be parted with her eventually. It's called independence. You get used to it."
Yeah.
At which
Basically,
point,
very similar to their previous statement. To their previous discussion.
it was the same. And then also, if you look at the clock that's next to them, it's gone back.
Yeah.
50. This is also the point when Itsuki says, "Did you feel something there?"
Yeah.
Something weird.
Quan knows what's up is what I've got written.
Yeah.
Quan notices what's happened.
I literally have Quan - bullshit.
You're very mean about Quan when she's being mysterious.
She's being bullshitty. She just says random fucking words that don't make any conceivable sense to anyone other than her and Itchley. Okay. Anyway, so we then go back to the Vermilion and the RahXephon trying to fight here, and it turns out that instead of the barrier being put up in this universe with the rewound time thing, for some reason the Vermilion just gets a good shot off and kills both of them.
Yeah. Which then... go on.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, Elvy then is saying, "Hey, we don't need Rihanna! High five, everyone!"
Oh no!
I'm not needed? So, yeah, that kind of really backfired. That whole 10 minutes ago you decided you were going to put all your self-esteem into being needed, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, we then have everyone going, "Hey, well, that was a wonderful test." Helena says, "Oh, yes, they were fighting for 36 minutes. It was incredibly useful data." At which point Haruka goes, I actually have 20 by my watch.
Yeah.
Which proves that, so Helena, fully aware of the time stuff, which, again, considering there's tiny Helena and Barbum generally being weird, kind of shows Helena as a something
other than human.
Something other than human.
Well, I couldn't see... Of course I know it's not true, but I couldn't see this, of course, without thinking of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And he's going, your stand can do the same thing?
But we also have Itsuki not quite as at the point of Helena, of being fully aware, but he did know something was up. Quan, completely aware. Don't actually get a sense of whether Ayato knew that he would be time here. I mean, I kind of like to think that he did, but there's no sort of actions that he takes that makes him sort of suggest that he knew what the score was at this point.
Well, either way, it still ends up kind of bad for him, so he's got no reason to be happy that there was a redo. So
then he decides to go back to his new hobby of pouting in mirror.
Pouting in mirror, and eventually even the mirror pisses him off.
Yeah, punches the mirror right in its bitch mouth.
But we sadly don't see the horrible bleeding afterwards. The episode ends on the broken mirror.
One assumes he doesn't bleed because they take great pains not to show Ayato's blood, since we proved it was red, because at this point everyone's just like, no, wait, it might not be red anymore.
Exactly.
Don't show them. Go show them. Yeah, so that was episode number 14, which
another super dense episode.
Yeah, it is, and it also marks us getting past the halfway point of this series. So...
I remember first watching episode 14 and being really confused about it because of just the random. Oh yeah, the RahXephon can change time. RahXephon can turn back time. And I was like, the fuck?
Holly also, I think, didn't pick that up immediately either when we were watching it. It was like, wait, what? It was like, no. She said, does that mean that... I can't remember what it was, but she was like, does that mean that it did something there? I was like, no, it rewound time. It's just broken. But yeah, wouldn't that be so useful in conversation?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, just like oh god, rewind time.
There's a game called I can't remember the name. It's a game which is kind of like a Telltale's adventure style game where you make dialogue choices, and it's kind of like a kind of combination between a visual novel and a kind of David Cagey game almost in a way.
Yeah.
Where it's all about the story. And it's called Life is Strange. That's it. And the main character has that ability, and you can use it in exactly the useful way that you think. In that you can sort of have a discussion with someone, and you go, I think ostriches are pretty cool. And if, all the cool kids go, what are you talking about? Ostriches are lame. You can rewind time and go, I think jaguars are pretty cool. And they go, oh wow, jaguars are cool. You're pretty cool, new kid. You can basically abuse it exactly like you want to as a real person, as a teenager in real social situations.
The thing is, though, I kind of know what teenagers would use it for. They'd use it for, hey, do you want to have sex? Oh, that's entirely inappropriate. Oh, well, I didn't say it then. No, yeah, I totally do. Well, I definitely said it then.
Well, weirdly enough, of course, that happens in like the second episode.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You'd basically use it to ask out people only when you were certain that they were going to say yes. Anyway, so going off the tangent and back to the episode, I liked this one. It's got Elvie as a massive racist, which is the major problem with it. But
I find it a bit sad, but that's just my opinion because I really fancy Elvie.
The problem I have with this episode, actually, is I liked the episode. I think it's well done. I think it's well written. I think all the character stuff makes sense, which is
the
a bit better than
Vermilion
the last
is
episode.
Gorgeous.
The Vermilion is very nice, and I do think that the whole progression of the series is going well. However, it's going in a sad direction.
Yeah.
Ayato is now sad. Elvie is more racist. Harry is getting more distant from everyone. It's like, oh, and also that shit of like, Sayako is hated now by Itsuki. Although, admittedly, this hopefully ends her relationship with Makoto. I don't remember if it actually ends now or not, but frankly, if she goes back and sleeps with him again, something wrong with that girl. Already, we've said far too low self-esteem, but that would be a step beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there isn't really anything that's good happening in this episode that is nice.
That's the thing. It's a really nice episode, but it's a nice episode because it's so emotionally destroying.
The one thing that actually, no, I was going to say, the one thing that is good is they do make the Major a much better character than you even now thought. I mean, the Major was awesome, but the Major's also, like, really cool guy as well.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we shouldn't attack anyone unless it's self-defense. We should just do research. And, hey, people are people. And, hey, listen, have you been to, Death Mountain yet, Link? Sorry. Just the fact that I kept saying, hey, just immediately I can't do that without thinking of fucking Navi. I hate Navi. Everyone hates Navi.
No, everyone hates Navi. You all know that.
That's something you should never need to rewind time for. Just turn up to any group of people and go, don't you just hate Navi? I mean, hey, listen, what a bitch. And then instantly you've made friends. That's all I have to say on it. Do you have any more?
Yeah, that's the thing. This was a really well put together episode, and really nice. And the reason why you feel down on it is because it's a real downer episode in terms of the story.
Yeah.
But unlike the previous episode, you can totally understand why Ayato throws a big hissy fit and everything.
Yeah.
And it all makes sense. And you really do just feel all of the important stuff in Ayato's life is just sucked away from him. But the problem is, of course, it's quite clear to provide actions in later episodes. So it's just sad.
Well, this is the thing. Ayato's anchor, his rock, is all being eroded, so that he's
lost trust in Haruka. He's lost trust in everyone else now because of the Mu reveal, and he now is no longer needed to fight the Dolums, so he feels he's got less and less attachment.
The thing is, we've had 3, I think, separate occasions where they've gone, "Hey, Ayato, here's a way back to Tokyo," whether it's the shrine, or whether it's the dream, or whether it's just, you could totally fly there from here. We've had 3 times where Ayato was aware that he could get back to Tokyo if he wanted to, and each of those 3 times he's turned it down in favor of staying. And now it's basically getting to the point where this seems like they're making it an easy decision for him. That feels like where it's going now. That's past halfway then.
Indeed.
Means
past
that
halfway. And it means
12 episodes left, or 6 podcasts to go.
6 podcasts to go, and it's going to start getting more and more dramatic from now. Next episode will have my favourite episode in it.
Oh, yes, I do like the next one. You're talking about episode 15, yes?
I'm talking about episode 15.
Yeah, I like 15. And,
indeed. Until the next time, would you like a cinnamon cookie?
I would love a cinnamon cookie, but only if you give it to me in the most intense manner.
Very well. Since I have to get a train in order to physically give you a cinnamon cookie, that would be pretty intense.